Well, good evening everybody and welcome to the DDMM YouTube channel for live coverage of round 3 for this year's Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. We're here at the historic Hockenheim Ring in Germany for the second appearance of the GT3s this year. The sounds of Ferraris, BMWs, Audis, Lamborghinis, Porsches will all be echoing around the forests here in Baden-Württemberg. Andrew Mather and Howard Mitchell on the comms for you this evening. Practice is underway, so you're not missing any of the action. Howard, good evening to you. Good evening to everyone on the chat as well. How are we doing, mate? Looking forward to this one. It's been a while since we've been to the Hockenheim Ring, a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Hello, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be back with you again. And yeah, it has been a little while, but it's quite a mainstay of the iRacing service is the old Hockenheim Ring. I believe I'm right in saying that anyone who's been racing the VRS Sprint or the GT3 Fixed Championships have already paid a visit to Hockenheim this season. Or it was either this season or towards the end of last season, I'm trying to remember. But the point being, anyone who races for a length of time in iRacing generally has this track and has visited this one. So it's quite a... It has been a while, but GT3s on Hockenheim Ring I think is quite a regular combination for iRacing. So it's going to be interesting, I think. I think that means we're in for quite a competitive evening. Obviously, we're carrying over the GT3s for a second consecutive round, having raced them at Fuji. And we've got a few, we'll probably get onto this, we've got a few people changing their cars, which remember they're only allowed to do the once, but
without
that
penalty. They're allowed to do it
without penalty.
Yeah.
Good point. Yes. So yes, relatively few changes. The drivers therefore are familiar with the cars they're driving, presumably comfortable with the steed that they've chosen. And they should have some experience around a Hockenheim Ring. I don't know about you. I think this was the first track I ever drove on any sim ever. Because although slightly different, it was on F1 97 and
nice.
That was on old Hockenheim Ring.
Proper Hockenheim Ring.
Well, I don't know if we're allowed to say that now. I realised earlier this evening it's been over 20 years.
Nope, don't like that. Don't like that at all.
2002, wasn't it, when they opened this revamped layout? Yeah.
Before we get onto the championship scores, and we will review which drivers have changed the choice of GT3 car across the course of the evening. Hello to Lee Henderson, who said good evening to us in the chat. John Ratcliffe as well, who was down at Clay Pigeon with us on Friday for BUKC finals. Do check that out on Alpha Live if you missed any of the action there. Do get in touch with us here in the virtual comms box. Let's have a look at those championship scores though, Howard. We've had 2 rounds. We've had one quite recently, of course. The GT3s made their first appearance of the year at Fuji. How are we looking 2 rounds in?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 rounds into this, and it is still nice and close. Is the I think the main thing to nobody's running off into the distance on this one. Adam State is your championship leader coming into this evening on those 195 points. Sam Sanders with the 191, and then a tie for third between Jack Eyre and Ross Deal on the 190. Down in 8th place, we find Murray Adams as your Class 2 leader on the 177. And he's got a fair old gap, actually, starting to develop there in the lead of Class 2, but still a long way to go yet in the season, and bear in mind that drop scores come in as well. I think last round, Andrew, was maybe marked by some names we would usually expect to be a bit higher, sort of having a bit of an off round, and I think there's a few names here that we find who maybe would look to move on up the order this evening. Regular viewers of this championship will perhaps note Michael Preston down there in 10th, not to put pressure on him, but we know he's good. So, yeah, definitely an interesting table developing early doors. As we head down further, we find our first Class 3 drivers, with Alan Curtis there down in 22nd place on a decent haul of 144. Although bear in mind, if there's a certain amount of success within Class 3, Class 3 is not really about putting together that championship score. It's if they have a certain amount of success, they will move on up into Class 2. Very much the point of that novice class. But yeah, as you can see, plenty to fight for all concerned. Points still nice and close in these early phases of the championship.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be interesting to see if the likes of Kieran Harrison, who joined the championship last time out at Fuji, will be able to replicate that form. That's why they're a little bit out of position at the moment. Drivers that we think have changed car. So just to reiterate, drivers have full choice of which GT3 car they use, but they can only change it once in a season without a points penalty. Now, there's 4 events this year, so you could in theory change 3 times, but if you change for that second and third time, it's a 5-point championship penalty each, which, given how close the championship has been in previous years, could be quite interesting. And the thought of it as well is there's obviously there's tonight's round, and there was Fuji as well, both in Season 2 of 2023 iRacing. Rounds 3 and 4 are both in a later season, so if there are any BOP changes from this current iRacing public season to the next one, that would be probably the risk-free point at which to make a change if you assess how the cars are performing later on in the year. But, as I say, we do have some drivers that have taken the risk to use their joker, as it were, tonight. Ross Deal has changed from Ferrari to Audi. James Fremont has changed from BMW to Mercedes. In fact, all of these drivers, up to the last one that I've read out, are going to be BMW changes. So Chris Hansen's gone from Bimmer to Fezzer. Michael Preston has gone from Bimmer to Audi. Tom Dix has gone from Fezzer to Bimmer. And Craig Brown has gone from Lamborghini to Mercedes. So quite a few changes there. Practice should be about to be finishing. The format for tonight is as follows. Timed qualifying, which will set the order for the first race of the evening. Everybody will be in that race, and the job will be to qualify into the top 16. It's the same format that we saw in round number 1 back at Okayama and Daytona, for those who remember that one. So you want to be careful. You want to be precise with your overtaking manoeuvres, because if you finish in 17th or lower, you're going in the B final, ladies and gentlemen. That will have the chance for 4 drivers to race through to the A final, and then the A final will be run with the top 16 from the heat race and the top 4 from the B final. Very like Club 100 sprints in real life. Should note that there's 50 points available for the best performance in the heat, so the winner of the heat will get 50 points here tonight. The winner of the final, the A final, will get 100 points. But we'll not be done there. We'll then be having all of the drivers back in for a super final. So all of the A finalists and the B finalists back together for another race at the end of tonight, where there will be a partial reverse grid. We know you love a partial reverse grid in this series. And that will have 100 points available for its winner as well. Whoever gets the most points over the various races that we run here tonight will be classified the round 3 winner and receive 100 championship points. I'm going to just check whether we're about to go into qualifying. We should be about ready to go into qualifying.
I think there's another 5 minutes left on the clock for this, actually, Andrew.
Okay. Well, we'll pad time for a bit. Who else have we got out? Who have we got on circuit? Should we do a bit of livery watch to kill some of the time?
Oh, we can do. I will just say, by the way, I'm loving the way I was singing the praises of the Audi as my favourite GT3. It's lovely to see some people joining me in the Audi camp on those switchovers.
From what I've heard, the BMW, which was very popular at Fuji, is a little bit twitchy round this circuit, which
yeah, I can see that. Let's do a bit of livery watching, actually.
I've just noted I'm going to. If I go back to scenic, Howard, I need to do a controller now.
Ah, okay.
No, it's never mind. But yeah, no, looking forward to a good night's racing tonight. As we haven't been to this track since 2021, when we did have all of it's all GT3s, but it was all Ferrari GT3s back then. That was the first season in which we ran with how should we say it, a multi-car format.
Yes, indeed, and I think it's going to be. It is nice to return, and it is nice to return where we've got a nice variety of cars. I definitely prefer that. Just have the slight, the added spice of the different characteristics of those cars. And I think as well, Andrew, I find this circuit. I find this circuit almost a little bit deceptive. You feel like. You feel like it's going to be fairly easy, I think, looking at a map. But there's a few bits of this circuit that I find can catch you out. It's all about patience and knowing when you can put the power down. And it's interesting you talk about the BMW being twitchy. It is a circuit where you really need a lot of faith, I think, in putting the power down. And getting the car, coming out of the hairpin at Spitzkehre, that's all well and good. But when when you get into the stadium section towards the end of the lap, which is the section that is common with the old Hockenheim we were talking about earlier, it's a really short, sharp stab of the brakes, and then you're back onto the power. And if you misjudge that, or the rear of your car is loose, you'll be straight off into the kitty litter. Likewise, in fact, every corner through that stadium section is a lesson in patience of, when do you apply the power? Have you got the traction, and have you got the stability of the car, particularly on the rear, to make sure that you're getting out of there nice and rapidly? And that carries through the first couple of corners as well, I find. So it is, in some ways, quite a technical track, and it's easy to mess stuff up. What that does mean is you can have mistakes, you can have different interpretations of line, and that can set yourself up for some nice overtakes, even though that in some parts this circuit isn't actually the widest out there.
Indeed. Good questions come in whilst we're about to cycle over from the practice session, the free practice session, of which at the moment Kieran Harrison is fastest on a 136.9, the only driver to break it under the 137 barrier. Good questions come in from Lee. How much would a setup cost to be able to take part in this? I mean, it's one of those, it'll cost as much as you want it to. I think it's fair to say if you've got a PC that can... If you've got absolutely nothing, what would you say, Howard? A good, decent PC that could run iRacing, not necessarily at the highest of graphical power, shall we say. But what, 300, 400 quid to get a PC that's got a decent graphics card to be able to run the sim?
I think so. Obviously, there's been a little bit of variability over the last 2 years in the old graphics card price, so that is probably the thing that dictates it. But I think, yeah, if you want to run this low end, I think you could find something for £300.
Yeah. And then and obviously your subscriptions. That's probably the bit that puts a few people off iRacing. But again, you get what you. I always say you get out of it what you put in. If you're someone who puts a lot of time into iRacing, does weekly participation. There's an investment almost cost up front to buy circuits and cars and all the rest of it, but you can. There are guides out there of like how you can do iRacing in the most cost-effective manner. And the other important thing is obviously for this series, we try to give drivers a means by which they don't have to collect that much content in their first season to be able to take part. So, for instance, running in the Ferrari GT3, as we've got with Adam State, that's a very well-used car that you'll probably be buying anyway if you want to race your way up through the not through the Club 100 iRacing ranks, but up through the public iRacing ranks. It's the go-to GT3 car for anybody new, if you ask me. Running the Mazdas as well, which is a free car, Toyota GT86, which is another free car. So have a good search online, Lee, because there's plenty of guides of how to do it. But obviously, yeah, that main investment to get all your bits is because of course you've got to get your wheel as well. You don't necessarily have to get a seat as well, but you probably want to put a couple of £100 to get a wheel that allows you to race. And there's many setups online of people who've got various bits of plywood together to allow them to sit in a rig. It doesn't have to be one of these, you know, multi-thousand-pound jobbies that you see around sometimes. It'd be great to have you on the grid, Lee, in a future round. I think it's fair to say as well, Howard, we've got a lot of people in our community who have that full range, don't they? So yes, we have got some people who've got a lot of money that's been thrown into their sim rigs, but we've also got people who are starting out and able to advise.
Absolutely, we really do. You know, we welcome the full range of experience in that regard, really, and yeah, people of all sorts of different setups, different rigs, and it really is a hobby that you can get. I mean, when I first loaded up iRacing, I was doing it with sat in a dining chair with an old, this might take some people back, but a Microsoft Sidewinder wheel. Right, that's how I started in this. So, you know, that, and I think that rig cost me whatever the dining chair cost me from IKEA, and I mean, inflation has taken its toll since the late 90s when I bought that wheel, so I think I picked it up for £40. But, you know, there are options out there, is the point. There are, you know, there's a great second-hand market in this equipment as well. So plenty of opportunities to get going for relatively little outlay. The
other thing I would advise Lee and anybody else interested on this is, if you are on a budget, build it up over time. So the bits that I've got weren't all bought in one go. They've probably been Black Friday, not at this time of year, of course, but Black Friday is a great time to pick up bits and upgrade your systems. But anyway, to the qualifying session. So timed qualifying, 2 flying laps for each driver, running in their solo, what should we say, parallel universe qualifyings, so they can't complain about traffic. Here we've got Cameron Watson in the AlphaTauri liveried BMW, and where is Cameron? I think Cameron's just going on to this is his first flying lap, isn't it? But at the moment, Kieran Harrison is the fastest out there on a 1:37.095, 4/10 clear of Ross Deal. Tom Edwards in 3rd, Josh Mitchell 4th, Steve Hicks 5th. We should mention as well that, once again, the prize pot has been announced. I should have written down how much the top prize is, but I haven't. Apologies, folks. But drivers do have the opportunity through this series of winning some Club 100 track time. The Class 1 and Class 2 winners will both be rewarded with an entry into a Club 100 endurance race in 2024. Here's Sam Dimolo, also another one of the runners in the BMW, currently 22nd on the grid. Improving all the time, though, is Dimolo here on iRacing, one of our drivers who's transferred across, shall we say, from the Gran Turismo world. It's up to a 1.7k iRating, I can see on our timing screen here in the box already. It's a good bit of progress from Sam.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I'm trying to think how to summarise that livery,
It's
yes.
a different one. It's a different one.
It is, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Should also mention we've got one new driver tonight. Got the entry in ahead of the 24-hour cut-off. Matt Salmon. He's gone into 22nd place as well, by the looks of things.
He has indeed. So welcome to him. Not too shabby a start at all. Actually, that puts him as the highest placed Class 3 driver on my graphic at the moment. So, actually, no, that's not. Yep, no, I'm going to stand by that. Highest placed Class 3 runner at the moment.
Tom Kemping on the screen. Yeah,
indeed.
Can't miss him in the Belgian colours.
This next corner, Andrew, turn 2. Again, this is about patience and getting on the power at the right time. You know, it looks so simple, this bit, but I'm sure we've all had one moment where we've squirreled around on the curb, struggled for traction or gone too deep, and then compromised ourselves all the way down this straight, in inverted commas. It's obviously not straight, it's the parabolica, but it's at full speed. And then it's heavy onto the brakes here into the Spitzkehrer hairpin. Going to be interesting to see how it goes when we have a full field of Club 100 iRacers barreling towards that one. Getting the traction down here. And this next corner, or this next complex, is always interesting, particularly if you're side by side after that hairpin. Mercedes corner again, Andrew, I find it can be deceptive. You've got to get it slowed down and carry the speed, but get that ideal line, carrying as much speed as you can then through this fast right-hander. Then it's a short, sharp stab of the brakes, and then run it out as far as you dare without going into the gravel, into the arena. Then sack curve, bit of a banked corner.
Oh, and that's the end of the qualifying.
The end of the session.
Yep.
I was transfixed on his effort there. I didn't notice. That does mean he's not set a time, though.
That does mean that he's not set a time, and we'll have to start from the back of the field. Let's have a look then at the grid. Kieran Harrison will be on pole position. Ross Deal alongside on the front row. Michael Preston, returned to form there, is on row number 2 alongside Adam State. Tom Edwards and Sam Sanders on row 3. Josh Mitchell and Steve Hicks on row 4. Tim Penny and Luke Tomlinson on row number 5. Luke Tomlinson being the first of the C2 drivers. Those are the drivers with the blue number boards. Tom Dix and Will Doyle are there on row number 6. And then find Jack Eyre and Matthew Whitefoot on row number 7. Chris Hansen and Chris Kirk there on row number 8. Matt Hale and Dan Gamblin on row 9. Charlie Summers and Christopher Powell on row number 10. Andrew Dawson and the first of the C3s. Matt Salmon form up on row number 11. Murray Adams and Craig Brown on row number 12. Running down the order, you've got Alan Curtis and Sam Dimolo on row 13. David Whitehouse and Ian Sumner start on row 14. James Fremont and Murray Scott on row 15. Michael Lithgow, the last of those to set a lap time in 31st. A lot of work to do. You've got to get in the top 16 to qualify straight through to the A final. That is going to be for Cameron Watson, halving your grid position there from 32nd. Tom Kemping as well 33rd, and Simon Delamere 34th.
The field lined up on the short straight just towards the Mobile 1 curve. That's the right-hander that takes you into the old stadium section. So rolling start, of course, with this one. And as a reminder, we've got this 13-lap heat. And correct me if I get any of this wrong, Andrew, but we're looking for the top 16 who will get through into the A final, and then the rest will form up the grid for the race immediately after this, the B final. So you won't have too long to lick your wounds if you are in that lower half of the field. You've got to get straight on with it. So, yeah, this is the last time we'll see everyone together until that super final to close out the round.
You're watching live coverage of round 3 of the Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship, getting ready for the heat race. Grid determined by timed qualifying. Job of this race, apart from scoring championship race round points, is getting the top 16 to qualify through to the A final. Red lights are now green. Away we go. Kieran Harrison in the BMW gets a very good start as they head into turn 1. Ross Deal already alongside with Michael Preston. Well, in fact, Deal ahead now into second place. Preston down to third. The rest of the field filing through, Howard, into turn number 2. Big braking zone. This is where things could get a little bit interesting for folks. They're all trying to keep themselves in this. No point trying to throw yourself in there and taking yourself out and others out off the road, because you won't reach that top 16. all quite relatively calm. There's one Audi off towards the back. It's Chris Kirk who's gone for a spin in the 256 Audi. But apart from that, all looking pretty good at this stage, Howard, as they're going through the splits curve. Yeah,
relatively well behaved. We've got a few passes going on in the mid-pack here through the hairpin, but it's because they're side by side. I don't think anybody's done the stereotypical racing lobby thing of using everybody else as their braking zone. Lovely to see the good-natured driving in our Club 100 iRacing field early doors, as that's a cheeky move there. That's Murray Adams on the move there, I think, putting in a cheeky move into the Mercedes corner. Yeah, it is indeed. Kieran Harrison running up front where he needs to be. Got the start right this time on the road. Did the best of all drivers in round 2, but picked up a post-race penalty after an investigation judged that he had infringed rules of the race start. In short, he'd pushed the loud pedal and then came off it again and then went on it again. That caused an incident further behind as things concertinaed and he was judged to be at fault. Not the case here tonight. On board now with Ross Deal. And whilst there are 50 points within this round available in this race, I think it's fair to say, Howard, Ross Deal won't try and do anything too garish in this first race. Wants to get a good grid position for the A final where there are a lot more points on offer. Yeah, absolutely, and you know, sitting on some good points coming into this round. Bear in mind that he is tied for third in that championship at the moment. So yeah, I think it's about getting some good solid points to kick off your round. So yeah, he's going to pick his moment carefully. Racing, as we noted earlier, for the first time in the Audi. Well, I'm guessing he may have done some other races in it, but the first time we're seeing him race in this series in the Audi. Yeah, I think just based on having driven both the Audi and the BMW a few times, I would say that might make him quite strong through this section they're going through now, Andrew. I find the Audi's quite a nice, responsive car through technical sequence of corners like this. If you join the stream, to let your friends and family know, let's get the word out that we've got some great racing here tonight at the Hockenheim Ring in the Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. Looking a bit further back, this is a round where the key positions in this race are being battled over. Got Luke Tomlinson at the front of this train in 12th place. William Doyle in there as well. And it's almost formed into I don't know why this hopped into my head, Howard. I remember being in a Landau pre-A final a few years ago in lightweights. Oh, and not trying to do exactly what's happened there. Spinning out was that Charlie Summers. Charlie Summers spinning out. I was just about to say, it was a race where we were all in a good position and knew that it was far more important to get ourselves through to the full final later on and get that grid position. I mean, it was quite a boring race in a way because everyone just stayed in position and didn't do any silly lunges. That is exactly what you wanted to avoid, spinning out, and that is going to be a lot of work now for Charlie Summers. He will have to come through the B final if he's going to get some good points here tonight. Yeah, it's just, I didn't think we saw any contact there, Andrew. Was it just getting that power down? Yep, just driver error. And as I said earlier when we were in the qualifying session, it's so easy to think, oh, you just point and shoot out of that corner, and then it's the long parabolica. But you are relying on the stable rear of the car coming through out of that turn 2 and the little kink at 3 to bring you onto that long parabolica. It's amazing how often you see the odd mistake there. So, yeah, that's going to be frustrating there for Charlie. He'll have to work his way up. We're looking back from Tim Penny, who's starting to stretch his legs a little bit on what was a quite tight-knit pack of cars. But still a little bit of a train. So order at the moment: Harrison from Deal, Preston in 3rd, Adam States P4, 5th for Tom Edwards, Steve Hicks, Sam Sanders, Tim Penny, Josh Mitchell, Tom Dix. They're all at the moment qualifying for the A final comfortably. Here is the key scrap.
and two Club 100 liveried Ferraris following each other. Chris Hansen and Matt Hale 15th and 16th, so that's the cut-off. This group now ahead should all nicely work together, no need to scrap. Throw it all to Craig Brown, who's transferred into the Mercedes, the bright green one there. He's got to close that gap down, maybe with some work from and help from Dan Gamblin behind. So at the moment, all these drivers on the screen at the moment, they're all going through.
They are indeed, but they are still running quite closely together, Andrew. So one mistake from one of them could cause the momentum of the whole pack to be compromised. So it's well worth Craig and Dan behind still pushing. Matt Salmon isn't too far down the road either, it's worth saying, as the highest placed Class 3 driver, so he needs to keep pushing with that as well.
And we should say that if Matt does too well, he could already be promoted in a couple of rounds up to Class 2. No specific prizes for Class 3. It's positioned as an idea similar to Class 3s in Club 100 Sprints, an opportunity for novices to battle themselves against each other, compare their performance against some of their own, and then in future time progress forward into Class 2. We've seen that already with the likes of Sam Dimolo, who's done well with that kind of format over the last year or so. Luke Tomlinson doing a good job here. Howard in the Rethink Racing BMW. He's got Matthew Whitefoot up behind him, and we've talked at Fuji and how much Whitefoot had improved in these GT3s over the last 12 months or so. He's a bit of a demon there in that BMW M4.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of working well with the drivers around them. No one's doing any harebrained manoeuvres at the moment, Andrew. I think they all know what's at stake here, and they'll settle. I don't think we're going to see quite such sedate isn't the right word, but we'll see slightly more aggression, I think, as our round progresses, because this one, everybody knows what's at stake and they've got their eyes on the prize, as it were.
Just keeping an eye on Cameron Watson. He's up to 20th place. We mentioned how he started 32nd on the grid. He's not got the pace of the leaders. Let's keep monitoring that gap between him and Matt Hale, whether it comes down from the 6 seconds or so that it is at the moment. Here we've got the battle for 8th place. On board now with Josh Mitchell, who performed a bit of strategic wizardry back at Fuji a few weeks ago to win race number 2. It was great driving along the way as well. Trying to find a way past Tim Penny there in the Nomad Racing Mercedes. Tom Dix not too far behind as well.
Something we should bear in mind, by the way, Andrew, we haven't mentioned it so far this evening, but there is one thing that you can fall afoul of around this circuit, and that is track limits. And there is an 18x limit, which one would hope the drivers manage to avoid. Good to see, in fact, very, very little contact so far. Oh, there's a nice selling of the dummy from Josh Mitchell down into the hairpin, and that's going to open up a brilliant little move on Tim Penny. That was gorgeously done, just that slight look to the outside, and then Manselled his way back to the inside. Nice little move there from Josh Mitchell up into 8th.
Yeah, love that a lot. And you can see for Tim Penny, the temptation there is to throw one back down the inside, but just got to take that one calmly. It's a position lost, yes, in this race, but still comfortably in that top 16. If you're just joining us, you're watching the heat race, first race of the night here for Club 100 BUKC iRACING in the Hockenheimring. All of these drivers trying to qualify automatically for the A final. To do that, they need to be in the top 16 at the end of this race. Looking on the outside at the moment, I don't think we're going to see performances that get into the A final here from the 394 of Michael Lithgow. That's Tom Kemping just ahead. This is all over 26th position. Again, they've got to keep in mind, Howard, that if you don't qualify through to the A final, your grid position in this race determines where you start the B final. And really, you want to be in that top 10, don't you, to realistically be in the discussion for getting one of those 4 repecharge spots. As off is Chris Kirk again in the 258, having a few problems there in the Audi R8 is Chris Kirk.
Yeah, I think that was in isolation, as well there, Andrew. I don't think he had anybody around him, so yeah, Chris just getting to grips with the car. I think it's the first time we've seen him this season, but yeah, the as you say, the effort, you know, okay, so you don't make it into the A final, what's the next best thing? You want to be in the pound seats for those 4 promotion spots we have from the B final to get up into the A. So that's definitely what it's about. And we were looking at Tom Kemping. I'll just go back to him here, actually. One of those drivers who didn't set a time, Andrew, and is handicapped in that sense, trying to get up the field, as that is a very hesitant look, if I may say so, by James Fremont there. I feel like he was thinking about it on Michael Lithgow there, but in the end has held station there in the yellow Mercedes.
Yeah, definitely. It's good stuff to see. And while cycling through, here's Cameron Watson, 19th place at the moment.
Somebody else who didn't set a time.
Yeah.
And I believe the only Class 1 runner we saw not to set a time. So he's got to try and get on up the road, and well, he's got to get going, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Got to get shifting if he wants to make this well, not make the promotion, sorry, qualify outright for the A final.
The pace relative to Matt Hale, similar, pretty similar. We were watching that gap of 6 seconds or so. Nice move there by Andrew Dawson down the inside of Matt Salmon, new driver to the series this evening. I must say, I know it's not a 355, but I very much like that he's gone with Ferrari and the number 355. That's a
yes.
I don't know if that was
agree.
deliberate, but well done. If it was there, Matt. What we're looking at here, it's the 01 of Chris Hansen in the Ferrari, the red and black Ferrari, going past Luke Tomlinson there.
Yeah, and that means he's been working his way up the field progressively since we last saw him. A little twitch there from Tomlinson, and that's going to allow Matthew Whitefoot to have a look in, but it's not going to go his way. And if you're Matt Hale at the back of this, you're just going, can we not, please? Because I've got quite a tidy gap here in 16th place.
And Craig Brown is coming. So what I think happened there was I think Tomlinson just dipped his front right into the grass on driver's right, and it just loosened the car up a little bit as he got on the brakes. And Whitefoot was in one of those situations of like, oh, I wasn't intending to go for an overtake here, but you're wide, son, and I'm going to stick my nose in there. And then they kind of just met on the apex. But it's all getting a little bit nervy. This is what we can see sometimes in these races where there's a cut-off for progressing through to the bigger final. And on board with Craig Brown now, 17th place. You can see that gap closing to Matt Hale, Matthew Whitefoot and Chris Tomlinson ahead, all Class 2s of these drivers. Again, I'm just looking at the gap back to Cameron Watson. That gap between 16th and where the Class 1 runner is, it is starting to come down. Time is dissipating away also. But he's going to hope that if Craig Brown can get in that mix and just make it a little bit messy perhaps, that is going to be the opportunity for the likes of Dan Gamblin, Cameron Watson and Andrew Dawson for, as we approach the final lap in a couple of laps' time, they might just have an opportunity to get up into the top 16.
Yeah, absolutely. Before that kicked off a lap ago, what I was looking at there was Chris Hansen's done well, actually, to put a few cars between him, because he was running just in front of Matt Hale, and he got by on Whitefoot and Tomlinson to get himself into quite a nice, tidy position where he's got that buffer now of some 3 cars behind him.
Yeah,
I just flag. Go on.
Particularly if it's one of those scenarios where you can see there is a driver up ahead who's a little bit slower. You don't want to get bunched up in and be the meat in and out a final sandwich. As we're looking at here, I think this is Ian Sumner.
Yep. A sole Lamborghini running tonight.
Fair play for Ian. I think the Lamborghini is clearly not with the choice of car, but he is running it. And doing well in the top 30 at the moment. Alan Curtis there just behind, and then Chris Kirk, Michael Lithgow and David Whitehouse now. What have we got going on here? I think this is Kieran Harrison lapping drivers now, as there's a Mercedes off the road.
Simon Delamere.
Yep.
Delamere, excuse me.
On on the runoff there. This has looked it's a scrap here between Tomlinson and Whitefoot. Whitefoot wanting to get through. He's going to have to be careful. He's not going to be able to overtake, surely. Yellow flags. Oh, so Matthew Whitefoot will not have liked the yellow flag being there. So he just pulled out of the move. He is now going to, now we're back in the green conditions, overtake.
And what's happened to Craig Brown, Andrew? Craig Brown's dropped down the order. He's no longer running in that 17th place. It's Cameron Watson who's running in that place. They're still side by side here, and that's going to be round.
And that's going to cost a place in the A final, surely, for Tomlinson, unless he can get going, because here comes Cameron Watson. Opportunity indeed, and through goes Watson into P16.
Well, we said he had his work cut out, Andrew. He clearly has made it pay dividends for himself over the last few laps. He's got himself into that critical position where he can benefit from anything like this, and it's come his way. And yeah, there's still an opportunity though. Luke, if he can stay with Cameron Watson, could still challenge for this, but it's going to be tough. We know that Cameron is a tidy peddler.
Yeah, you can see Watson on the lights now to Simon Delamere there with the back mark to say, please move over to allow me through and hold on to this 16th place, because this is where the race is now. What you're looking on your screens at the moment is the difference between qualifying directly for the A final and being at the mercy of the B. B final will immediately follow this race. A bit further up the order, Tim Penny, Tom Dix fighting over 9th place. Two German marks. That's this classic German circuit. Through goes Tom Dix there in the KFC BMW into P9.
Jack Eyre and William Doyle also two of the closest cars on track as well in the background. Cameron Watson here pulling out a little bit of breathing space in the first half of this lap. Little clip of the apex curb there. But should be fine with that, particularly in the very sturdy BMW. It's that's a feature of it that you and I have tested extensively, Andrew, in our...
Oh yes, we're very good at that.
We're very good at stress testing the old sturdiness of pretty much any car we get, but we've done it with the...
The roof is particularly strong, as we found at the end of the Dossiger last year.
I'll say this, Luke Tomlinson has pulled it back through that sector. I say that, he's a little bit wide through the penultimate corner, through the coming out of Sud Curve, the last corner there. He's dropped back again, but he got that to within 3/10 through the early part of that stadium section.
One more lap to go after this one. If you enjoyed the stream, why not give that like button a press? Thank you for your continued support. Let's try and get the stream up to 10 likes if we can. On board now with Charlie Summers. That's James Fremont's ahead of us in the DK Engineering liveried Mercedes. It's turn one, big sausage curve on the inside there. This might be an opportunity for Summers into turn number 2. He's having a look for it. He's diving down the inside on the brakes. Good stuff there from Charlie Summers. A final is not completely out the question. We know that Charlie's got the pace from qualifying to be up in that top 16. We're going to have to keep an eye on him, because we mentioned top 10, didn't we, on the grid for the B final to try and race through into at least 4th. He would now be in 10th position on the grid for the B.
Indeed he would. And, James Fremont thinks better of mounting a counter-attack there into the hairpin. Final lap board has been shown though, Andrew. Kieran Harrison on his last tour of the circuit.
Yeah, it's been very routine, very straightforward for Kieran Harrison, who really has made quite a mark on this series. Joined just before the deadline of round number 2. But what an impact he has made. No Josh Ladd in this year, so the space is there, very much so, for someone to come to the fore and be cream of the crop. Could it be this driver here? He's got an illustrious history of racing in the BUKC. Race through with Leeds University, multiple-time race winner for them. Steve Hicks and Adam State. Adam State, your championship leader after 2 rounds of the season. Fighting with Steve Hicks there in the brightly coloured Mercedes. Tom Edwards has had a good run in this race, however. He's gone under the radar, but in 6th place there, ahead of Sam Sanders. Very good stuff. But here comes Kieran Harrison, had pole position, and is going to race through the heat race into the A final. Flash of the lights, beautifully done by the Leeds University man. Ross Deal joins there in 2nd place. Michael Preston back on form is going to take 3rd. Adam State, more good points for Adam there in 4th. 5th for Steve Hicks. Tom Edwards, as we mentioned, good performance in 6th. 7th for Sam Sanders. All of these drivers racing through into the A final. They can put the feet up, have a rest, have a drink, enjoy the B final without having to worry about whether they're going to be racing through it or not. So Josh Mitchell, Tom Dix, Tim Penny, William Doyle, Chris Hansen, Jack Eyre, they all go through. First of the C2s, Matthew Whitefoot, Matt Hale is through as well. Cameron Watson from 32nd on the grid had to halve his grid position, did so indeed, gets the 16th and last spot in that one. Top 4 will look like this: Luke Tomlinson, Andrew Dawson, Matt Salmon and Craig Brown. They'll all try and race through and hold those positions in the B final shortly. Christopher Powell, Sam Dimolo, Murray Adams, Tom Gamblin, Tom Kemping, Charlie Summers will all start inside the top 10 of the B final. James Fremont, Alan Curtis, Ian Sumner, David Whitehouse, Michael Lithgow, Chris Kirk, Murray Scott and Simon Delamere all have work to do from the back of the field. Good race that, Howard. Good to see again as well that this format of the drivers knowing that they can't give it absolutely everything and be rewarded with a reverse grid straight away. They've got to keep it clean. They've got to make sure that they end in that top half of the order to progress into the bigger race later on. It seems to have worked again there.
Yeah, totally agree with that, mate. I would describe that race as measured. We had entertainment, no doubt, but you know, everybody knew what the deal was with that race. And actually, you know, I'm going to go straight into the grid for this next one. We might have to review the result of that one a little later because they are already gridding up for this this B final. But yeah, carefully considered driving, I think, by a lot of drivers. This one's going to be interesting to see who gets the promotion.
So, on to the B final, top 4. The race finishes where you need to be to recharge onto the back of the A final grid. 18 drivers tonight in the B final. Luke Tomlinson will lead them away. Andrew Dawson alongside on the front row. Matt Salmon on debut. Great opportunity this for Matt in the Ferrari. Starts alongside Craig Brown on the 2nd row. Christopher Powell, last year's C2 champion. Hence he's a C1 now in 2023. Is alongside Sam Dimolo on row 3. Murray Adams and Dan Gamblin are on row 4. Tom Kemping and Charlie Summers there on row 5. James Fremont and Alan Curtis start on the 6th row of the grid. And then we find Ian Sumner and David Whitehouse on row 7. Michael Lithgow and Chris Kirk on row number 8. Murray Scott and Simon Delamere complete the 18-car field here at Hockenheim for the B final. We do like a B final here at DDMM. Do hope you're enjoying the stream and enjoying the coverage. Porsche pace car pulls in. Down to Luke Tomlinson to get us underway here. Andrew Dawson needing to make sure that he doesn't jump the start. Waiting for those green lights. There they are. Away we go. Checking to the inside there is Craig Brown. Already looking for 2nd place, but it's a good start for Tomlinson. 3 wide into turn 1. Very good start indeed. Oh, and there's chaos towards the back. I think Salmon was involved there. Fremont was nearly caught up in that as well. Not good news for those drivers. And it's Chris Kirk, I think, is in trouble once again as well.
Yeah, it's been costly for Christopher Powell. I think you said James Fremont might have been caught up in it, but he was caught up in it. It's towards the back of the field. So not the start they would have wanted. They've all continued, I'm delighted to say. That's probably small consolation. What it means, Andrew, is that we haven't got a Class 1 runner in this race any higher than 8th place at the moment. So they've got their work cut out as Luke Tomlinson leads them out of the Spitzkehrer hairpin
It's all very close. Luke Tomlinson is going to have the pressure now. Craig Brown has experience of running at the front of one of these races in GT3 before. Has won reverse grid races, and I guess in a way, Howard, there are elements, skill elements from those reverse grid races that we've seen previously. I'm thinking back to Spa a couple of years ago, where, okay, you may not be the fastest driver in this club, but when you've got the opportunity of being at the front of the order, you've got to be able to deal with the pressure of taking that opportunity, and we know Craig Brown can do that.
Yes, yeah, we have seen that many times. Here we are then, coming out at the end of turn number 1, lap number 1 even. Luke Tomlinson leading, as we've got a challenge further back. Charlie Summers trying to fight his way back up the order, trying to put a move on Dan Gamblin there, but he's on the outside, and that one's not going to work. Murray Adams as well must fancy his chances on getting the promotion out of this one. Top 4, remember, it is who do that. As Chris Kirk is in the pit lane, I'm afraid, Andrew, so he's had to go in to take one of his fast repairs. Craig Brown really challenging Luke Tomlinson here, though, as they go through the parabolica.
Yeah, you can see that Craig Brown wants to lead this one from the front. It's getting a bit argy-bargy as they go down into the Spitz curve, but surely Craig Brown will have the inside, make sure that he gets a good bit of drive out of the Spitz curve and through into the lead of this race.
Yeah, nicely done. Textbook overtake at this circuit, but it's much easier said than done. Spotting your braking point right there, such that you were that he was, you know, wasn't going deep. As there's a big twitch on the rear there as he puts the power down in the Mercedes, and that allows Tomlinson to resume the lead of the race.
Oh, big off! That was a huge off for Murray Adams, just speared off to driver's left, and I hope he's able to recover that one. It's on board with him now, but that is going to be Murray Adams well and truly out of contention in this race. Surely he's going to have damage to the BMW. I know it's built tough, is the Bimmer, but I was saying that it doesn't look too bad. Maybe it's a repeat. It's a repeat of last year, isn't it? Of the Nürburgring race. It doesn't matter if it slides on its roof or whatever happens to it. She built tough is this M4.
Very unusual off though, Andrew. Really, really weird to see a car go straight on there, as ahead of them Matt Salmon and Simon Delamere are going side by side. Good race so far from Simon, actually.
Yeah, real good improvements. Learned from the first race, had a bit of a difficult time, but striking back here in the Martini liveried entry. In Sumner in the Lamborghini, having a look.
We didn't both just simultaneously have a connection problem, Andrew. We definitely saw Murray Adams careering off into a wall. This is incredible. He's now fancying his champion houses. Straight line speed.
It's because at his end he's got the white and black and red DDMM livery on it. It's not quite showing the tower
that'll be it. He's selling dummies and everything. It's like he must be there going, I must go straight on more often.
So top 4 as it stands: Tomlinson, Brown, Dawson and Sam Dimolo. Just as I was about to say, Charlie Summers was chasing them. The quasi-time travelling commentator's curse has hit Charlie Summers before I've even said that he's very well positioned to get in the top 4 here.
Well, now he's got his work cut out again for him here, as Charlie. This is exactly what I was talking about at the top of the stream, Andrew. You've got to have faith putting the power down through these corners. It's so easy to spin up the rears or have a twitch on the rear, and we've seen it several times, and you know, we know from his experience and showing in this championship previously, we know that Charlie's not a bad driver, but it's just so easy to do around this Hockenheim ring.
Yeah, and all the setups identical from make to make, I should say. So all the BMWs, for example, will have the same setup. Nobody playing around with settings to gain advantage.
He's going to have the inside here.
Tom Kempick trying to defend from 2 BMWs at once. Good luck with that, Tom.
Yep.
Side by side between Summers and Whitehouse. Whitehouse and the Seesaw Digital BMW there may have the inside line, may have to be brave on the brakes down the inside, nearly 3 wide as they go into the Spitz curve. Surely they're going to make contact there. They are going to make contact. It all gets a little bit touring car. Out wide goes Charlie Summers and takes the position now. Will there be a little bit of a bone to pick there? Summers will argue he was forced out there as Kempick goes down the inside of Whitehouse, retakes momentarily 7th place. So I think Summers will argue that he was pushed out there, but if I'm in David Whitehouse's shoes, I might argue, well, he powered using the tarmac run off there to get the position.
If this was a street circuit and there was a wall there, well, we all know what would have happened. That would be the argument from Whitehouse's point of view.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one there, Andrew. It was, I mean, it was nice. It was great to see them going 3 wide, and you know, I'm sure Watson's Summers' argument, excuse me, would be, well, where is my car supposed to disappear to exactly? Because if you have 2 cars on your left, his argument would be that room should be left for 2 cars.
I think we should all go to George Russell's TED talk on that one. Or was that a little bit too soon? Here's Charlie Summers, though. Well, he has now, the crucial thing is he's got through, he's into 6th place on the road, and he's now braking towards Sam Dimlow. Apologies, I think I did a disservice to Dan Gamblin earlier. That might have been a graphics and timing error at my end. But he's there in 4th place. These drivers, if they don't qualify through to the A final, will have a subsequent opportunity to race tonight. Second lobby, where we've got the super final, all the drivers back in together, top 10 from the A final reversed. And we should note as well, all drivers, if they don't attend the super final, if you've had a bit of a humpy night, don't not log in to the super final, because there is a rule, and it's primarily aimed to stop people who bandit in and then just leave after 1 lap and rage quit. But you have to log in to register for points for the super final for all parts of the evening. Basically what we're saying is, if you don't log into the later session, it doesn't really matter what you've done in the first session, in the first lobby, you're gonna finish last in the event, and that's going to affect championship points. So persevere if it's been a tough night, drivers, so far. Good scrap going on here between Sam Dimolo and Charlie Summers. Summers on the outside, but will try and keep his foot in and have this long run to eventually have the inside line for the Spitz curve. And there he goes, Sam Dimolo resigned to just letting the Class 1 driver go there. Ooh, as Summers runs deep. That's not what he wants to do.
That's cut to a rear-facing camera on Dimolo's car, and he'd already pulled alongside there. Just such is the progress that Charlie Summers is making, but he gets past the Teletubbies and Jesus car.
Yes.
Of Dim.
Is it interesting?
Yeah. There was nothing dipsy about that move, though.
No.
It was a very good move.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. I've been desperately trying to think of one all night.
That quip was so good, I just spilt water down myself. Never mind. We're on to lap number 7. Luke Tomlinson still continues to lead this race from Craig Brown, and Andrew Dawson there as well. They've checked out. 1, 2, 3. No need for them to fight. DDMM comms box to Andrew Dawson. There is no need to fight. Don't do it, mate. Don't do it. Dan Gamblin is on his own. There he is in the black and gold BMW. They'll be starting to feel a little bit nervous, perhaps, because 4.5 seconds behind the leader, but more importantly, only 2 seconds now is the gap to Charlie Summers. still quite a few laps of this race to go.
They are battling. They're going side by side for second here, Andrew. They're not heeding our advice.
Well, why shouldn't they? We'd be in the back in this race.
We should make clear the points for them is exactly the same no matter what configuration they finish in right now. Because their points will be based on where they finish in the A final.
Yes, that's a very good point.
There is actually, unusually, there is actually no material difference between second and third in this race. None.
Not at all. In terms of sorry, not championship points, round points. You'd have thought after all these years of commentating on events where there's round points and championship points, then we'll get that one right, but never mind. Hello to Greg Smith. Evening, mate. Good to have you on board once again. On board with Charlie Summers then. 220 kilometres an hour before he hits the brakes into turn number 1. That gap is closing, 0.8 of a second now behind Dan Gamblin. What do you do when you're in this scenario, Howard, if you're Dan Gamblin? How do you play this? Because there's a significant number of laps after this one. You clearly be aware that Charlie Summers is closing in.
It's a tough one, isn't it? First and foremost, until he gets into a point where he's going to show his nose, which unfortunately for Dan, I think is going to be pretty soon. You focus on your lines, you even, and I'm not a big advocate for this, but you even push your luck with your 1Xs, I would say, with what's on the line here. If, you know, as I said, it's 18 exit for a drive-through penalty. If you've got a few to spare, this is where you push. It can be a curse that obviously you don't want to get a slowdown. But, you know, you lay everything on the line here. He has actually just had quite a good set to there, I think, has Dan. And they've been able to hold Charlie at arm's length. I honestly thought Charlie, with his pace in the first sector of this lap, was going to be on him by this point. But you focus on your lines. Once you get by, you try not to lose too much time defending against him, I think. Because of the length of time left in the race, Andrew, if he is coming by, you take that one on the chin. Try and stay in his wheels tracks as much as you can, and then you would be hoping that that battle up front between Craig Brown and Andrew Dawson gets a little bit spicier.
Indeed. On to lap number 9. Is Summers setting up for the move now? He's just going to be patient. I think he's going to try and get the big run here out of turn 2 through turn 3. Little sharp left-hand kink. On the long run through the Parabolica, which is a turn, but is full throttle. Is Charlie Summers going to go for a big one down the inside? Gambling defence to the inside, hard on the brakes, trying to go round the outside through the splits curve, maybe have the run out of the corner. Dan Gamblin respectfully gives him space, although they're going to get very close there, and Summers onto the grass. That was firm but fair, I think, from Dan Gamblin. He gave him the room, but then just gently leant there as to just assert himself in 4th position and say, no, not going to let you through that easily, Charlie. I've
done a disservice to Mr. Gamblin there, Andrew. I honestly didn't think when we first saw Charlie coming up onto the back of him that he had the pace to defend this. As it is, it seems he has. So get rid of the strategy I was saying a moment ago. Bring out your inner Gandalf, is what you do in this situation. And drive the widest BMW M4 GT3 that you've ever seen.
Through the sort of curve, exiting the stadium section. As a little bit wide there from Charlie Summers. He probably picked up a 1X for that. I say I think you do tactically use them at this stage of the race. Yep, that'll be another one. Looking back from Dan Gamblin, Charlie Summers is always having to think about it. He's gone for it down the inside into turn 2. Brave on the brakes, and that is the move done for Charlie Summers. But now the slipstream handed back to Dan Gamblin. Will Dan Gamblin be able to return the favour here? He's trying to get as much speed as possible as they go through the Parabolica before they get to the braking zone of the splits curve. They're going to be side by side, maybe a little bit of rubbing. on the inside is Charlie Summers. Got to get it locked down on the apex, and he's done just that. Poor pressure there for Charlie Summers to get that one finished. That move very much having two phases to it, getting past being the A part and then strongly defending to confirm it being the B part. That was well done by Charlie Summers.
It was indeed, but fair play to Dan Gamlin there. He fought that one, as I said a moment ago, much harder than I thought he had the pace to do. And he's not out of this yet. As I say, he's going to try and stick with Charlie here and hope that something comes his way. His pace is good, so unfortunate if we don't see him getting that promotion, because he's fought gallantly for it. But, sorry, fought valiantly or gallantly. I don't know what gallantly is. But nonetheless, that was a good little battle. But fair play as well to Charlie Summers, as you say, Andrew, working his way up the order, slowly but surely. And he's got himself into the last of those promotion spots with a couple of laps left to go.
Yes, he has indeed. Here we are, looking at Chris Powell, I believe. 23. It's Tom Kemping just ahead. Alan Curtis as well. Alan Curtis is having a good run here, up in 7th place. Powell looking to the outside now as they go through turn 2. It's the corner where previously they would have shot down into the forest towards the Jim Clark curve, as through past Alan Curtis goes Tom Kemping there in the Belgian coloured Ferrari. Oh, heavy on the brakes there, and that was a catch out there. I don't think Chris Powell was expecting Alan Curtis to brake as early as he did there. Got caught in a bit of no man's land and contact was made.
Yeah, I'd say they've come off of that. Yeah, they've come off of that as well as they could have done under the circumstances. There's a little bit of Ferrari missing off the rear left of Kemping's car. I'm sure there's been a bit of panel bashing on the left-hand side of Alan Curtis's Bimmer as well. But yeah, just wasn't expecting it, was he? That level of retardation of the car in front.
Hixie asking
they all live to drive another corner.
Hixie asking in chat, is the top 4 settled? Well, quite possibly, as out is Murray Adams after that big off. I didn't think it was going to be...
You say after the big off, he was fine after the big off. Like, is that really what's ended it for him? I don't know.
I don't know. Honestly,
unless he's done a DDMM Bathurst and he thought the front of the car was absolutely fine, but he may have impacted upon the cooling ability.
Display happened in the car, quite
indeed.
Possibly. So Luke Tomlinson, who I think has dealt with this very well, Howard. It was a lightning start from Craig Brown. Had to hold on to that lead, get the race into a rhythm. He's done just that. He's a lap and a half away from qualifying through to the A final. Christopher Powell closing in on Alan Curtis again.
You won't like me reminding the world of this, but as it currently stands, Andrew, it's increasingly looking at one Class 1 driver who will not be up into that A final.
Yes.
But he is running the Audi, and he has got the Double Dash Motorsport Media logo on the car, so, you know, extra points in my opinion.
It's a tough one. I think Chris has taken it gallantly, to use that word again. I don't think anyone was perhaps expecting the influx of really very strong drivers into Class 1 this year. Great to have them along. But Chris has almost been a bit of a victim of his own success, winning Class 2 last year. Someone's got to step up to Class 1 per the regulations of the series, and being champion, it kind of had to be him. But he's stepped into a Class 1 which is far more, I wouldn't say competitive, it was always competitive, but the level of competition in Class 1 this year has definitely taken a step or two up.
Yeah, it is a tough situation in which to get that promotion. Nice problem to have, but yeah, difficult one for Chris, and but we've seen him, we know that we've seen him develop before as a driver.
Yep.
In this series, and I'm sure he will continue to improve and get onto sparring terms with his classmates. Be interested to see indeed how he will do in the super final later on.
Yes. So all these drivers will race again in that super final. We are on the last lap of the race. Andrew Dawson may have the attentions of Charlie Summers to think about here, and drivers again will just be well reminded to know there is nothing to be gained from trading positions or battling positions, potentially falling off the road here.
Oh, that's Dan Gablin. He'll be there going, "Go on, Charlie."
But Luke Tomlinson from pole position in the B final is going to qualify through to the A final. Very well done race there from Luke Tomlinson. Through as well go Craig Brown, Andrew Dawson and Charlie Summers. Just on the outside, the worst position to finish, if you ask me, in a B final, 5th for Dan Gamblin. Oh, Sam Dimolo, is he going to get over the line in 6th? Well, yes, but that's not going to be a showroom finish one at the end. Once he's brought that in the pits, Sam finishes ahead of Tom Kemping in 7th, 8th for Alan Curtis, 9th for Christopher Powell. It's going to be 10th for David Whitehouse, 11th for James Fremont, 12th for Matt Salmon, 13th for Chris Kirk, 14th Ian Sumner, 15th for Simon Delamere, and then there were 3 retirements along the way for Murray Adams, Michael Lithgow and Murray Scott. Good race there, Howard, but good to see those drivers with the opportunity to get through to the top 4, get through to the A final. Very much staying cool, calm and collected. No silly mistakes. And I think they all deserved to get through to that A final.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, they absorb the pressure well. It's so easy to get into, you know, a difficult psychological state when you're in the promotion spots, or if you're starting towards the front of the grid. And for the top 3 there, that was definitely an aspect. For Charlie Summers in 4th, it was an impressive run up through the field, measured overtakes. And yeah, totally agree. Everyone who's made their way onto the back of this A final grid right now is definitely deserves to be there. Let's have a look at the grid then
for the A final, and 100 points available in it. Kieran Harrison has pole position. Ross Steele alongside on the front row. Michael Preston and Adam State on row 2. Steve Hicks and Tom Edwards on row 3. Sam Sanderson, Josh Mitchell on row 4. Tom Dix and Tim Penny on row 5. Will Doyle and Chris Hansen, who's not the best because he's qualified 12th. Moving further, well, they're all Class 1s, so it's Class 1s aplenty in the top 6 rows. Jack Eyre and Matthew Whitefoot on row 7. Whitefoot being the first of the C2s. Matt Hale and Cameron Watson on row 8. Those are the last of your automatic qualifiers from the heat to this A final. We've then got our 4 drivers from the B final. Luke Tomlinson, Craig Brown, Andrew Dawson and Charlie Summers. In once again pulls the Porsche pace kart, and once again Kieran Harrison has control of the field. He's gone early and he's gone well straight into the lead of the race. Ross Steele cuts to the inside as they head to turn 1, side by side between Adam State and Michael Preston. There's a touch, there's maybe another one. The 2 drivers who came together at Fuji through turn 1, they both survived. Off there is Craig Brown into the same tyre wall Kimi Raikkonen ended up all those years ago. Steve Hicks having a go there at Adam State. Tom Edwards in the black, pink and white car. The BMW's had a good start as well, side by side between Sam Sanders and Josh Mitchell. Tim Penny just behind. Ferocious start there, but it was elbows out between Michael Preston and Adam State as Steve Hicks is now looking down the inside in the Mercedes. And through he goes into 4th place. Whoa, what a start there, Howard.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm not sure they're entirely done yet. Chris Hansen, who I think is missing a bonnet, battling away with Will Doyle.
They'll have very good cooling. Oh wait, no, the engine's at the other end of the car.
Yes, unfortunately so from his perspective. His sandwiches have just flown out is what's happened there. And that's a cheeky little move, actually, by Jack Air to get by. So Air up into 12th place as they come through Sachs Curve. Hansen on the outside there. And I was just, do you know what? I was going to say something about this on that one, Andrew. That the race got going. It's important to remember that the circuit is not being, switched back to green each time they go out on track here. The marbles that have developed are quite something now, particularly in that banked Sachs Curve corner. And I think we saw Hansen there getting onto those and spring accordingly.
Well, he's gone into the pits for a fast repair. Meanwhile, Ross Deal close up behind Kieran Harrison. As away goes Chris Hansen. Fast repairs in action to make sure people can get back out on circuit, particularly those, not that Chris Hansen is one of those because he's a very experienced driver, but drivers who want to get good track time. No point them sitting in the pits for 15 minutes to get repaired and do 2 laps. They've got to come in the pits anyway in races where there is no pit stop planned. They get the repairs, they get it done. Yes, they take a time penalty in doing so, but they're still able to go out there and have some enjoyment on circuit. Ross Deal.
He lost as to how he lost his bonnet, though. I didn't see any contact. I don't know how that happened.
It's a mystery to
Ross
us
Deal
all.
pushing hard, Andrew, right on the limit there with the gravel coming into the arena.
Well, the round 1 winner very much wants to reassert himself on this championship. Had a great start, but wasn't at the very front of the field when we went to Fuji a few weeks ago. As in as well is Craig Brown for a pit stop. Will have 20th on the grid for the super final. Harrison, Deal, Preston then 1, 2, 3, 1.5 seconds covering them at the moment. Then it's Adam State in 4th place. I don't know if you mentioned has got back into that 4th place ahead of Steve Hicks. Sam Sanders and then Tom Edwards behind as the lights start to fade here at the Hockenheim Ring. Looking back from Adam State now, there is Steve Hicks in 5th place. State is making it clear that he doesn't want Hicks to take a big one down the inside. Oh, he missed the apex by a foot or 2 there. Not to worry about the oil pressure low sign that we saw there on Steve Hicks's car. That was an anomaly per our spectator view. Won't have been true. Side by side here. Josh Mitchell involved there with the number 15 of William Doyle. And Jack Air trying to fight through as well. And here comes Charlie Summers. This is all going to get a little bit close and a little bit spicy. Matthew Whitefoot looking for a way round, as is Cameron Watson. To the outside is Jack Air there in the Rethink Racing with the blue and white. Brilliantly done round the outside of William Doyle. That was brave, brave stuff.
Yeah, it was lovely stuff. I actually thought Jack Air was going to get both of them done at one point there. But yeah, really nice little exchange. Good racing room given, it has to be said as well. It's not, we've already referenced this evening, Andrew, it's not the widest circuit there through the stadium section. So really good to see the drivers racing well here.
Wide for Cameron Watson.
Was indeed.
And he's got to slow down. He's got to slow down. That's why he pulled over to one side. So if you're new to iRacing, you do sometimes receive a live time penalty, as it were, if you run too wide, especially on the more modern circuits. And it appears on your screen, and let's say it was a 1.5 second penalty, and you have 45 seconds to serve it. There's various different ways you can serve it. Easing out the throttle, shifting a bit early, or doing as Cameron Watson did there. Just pulling over to one side, making sure you don't collect anybody, getting on the brakes, getting it served quickly, not running the risk of what does happen, Howard, if you don't serve those brief time penalties within, 40 seconds to do so. You can receive a further black flag which will pull you into the pits and sit you there to the tune of 40 seconds, and that really is a big penalty. Oh, wide there, Tim Penny in those marbles that you were talking about.
Indeed. I'm a little concerned for Craig Brown, Andrew. I'm not quite seeing why, as William Doyle's dropped down a few places there. I'm not quite sure why Craig's still in the pits. I'm fearing a possible disconnect on that count, or potentially, I don't know, he was well off the back of the field, maybe electing to throw in the towel on that one, but something means that Craig Brown is holding in the pit lane. Fast repairs, as we say, are active, so it's not to get damage repaired. Oh, it's William Doyle. Do you know what? That was a heart-in-the-mouth moment where he thought he was going to rear-end Cameron, and it meant that he just got a slightly more twitchy on the brakes, and it made him go deep.
Yep.
It's going to put him at risk of attack from Matt Hale behind.
Matt Hale.
Just little things. It's not the easiest circuit to follow someone around, I think.
It's one on this newer format that we talk about circuits where you get into a rhythm. I think this is one of the ones where you don't do that. It's very much what I mean by that. Not many of the corners flow from one to another, I suppose.
It's an interesting one. I think I'd go as far as to say it's a very difficult circuit to get into a rhythm. I have felt hooked up around this circuit before, but yeah, it's one where it can be difficult to get the flow right, particularly if you're in a battle or if your rhythm is upset. It can take a while to get back into it. This part of the track, for example, I always find it difficult to hook it up. When you hook it up through this stadium section, it's lovely, but as I said, right at the top of the stream, the patience with getting on the power. I think one has to run a lot of laps around here before you feel that sort of natural acquaintance with it almost. And I say that as someone who I'm not sure I've got it yet, but yeah. Oh, twitch for Tim Penny, not for the first time I don't think we've seen, and that's going to leave him exposed to Tom Dix through the parabolica. I don't think he's, bearing in mind we're running these fixed setups, Andrew, I'm not sure that Tim Penny has 100% confidence in the rear of that Mercedes.
Remind drivers, because I know we may have had some of our drivers from the B final log in who didn't race through to the A. There is another race tonight. It does count quite highly for the overall event. So don't disappear, don't go away. There's still another race to be run, and to score points you have to log in. Those who don't log in will score 0 points out of a possible 100 for the super final portion of the evening. So even just tootling around at the back for a couple of laps and then heading off if you need to is worth it, because it means you don't effectively lose your efforts and your points from earlier in the night.
Still this battle going on, Andrew, between Adam State and Steve Hicks. Sam Sanders on the scene as well.
So 1.7 seconds to the lead now for Kieran Harrison, ahead of Ross Deal. This is a good scrap, as you say, Howard. Steve Hicks is going to line up a move into the Spitz curve. He's going to have an overlap. The Mercedes down the inside on the Ferrari. This should be a fairly routine overtake for Steve Hicks, and it is.
I think he did well just to park the Merc on the apex briefly there. I think Adam State fancied his chances on getting a switchback. It's quite a difficult hairpin to do that, though, I think. Has the feeling, if not actually tightening up on exit, it certainly feels that way. That you sort of run out of room, and even if you had have tried it, incidentally, you might have been stopped from doing so by a certain Sam Sanders, who would have been there as well. But yeah, good move there from Hicksy, and he's up into 4th place. Oh, change for second. Change for second. Oh, Ross
Steele's off. Ross Steele is off. What has happened there to the round one winner? Well, that was very strange indeed. Did he have a... I don't think it's a technical failure or like a wheel disconnect or something like that, because he's been able to get back on circuit. It may have just been a mistake.
Off to driver's left out of that corner, Andrew, to me, assuming there was no contact, is a getting the power down out of Sachs curve. The rear's lit up on him.
Yeah.
And he went off to driver's left. Because otherwise, that's a very unusual place to end up, unless he was helped into it. But yeah, he carries on. I remember we didn't broadcast this one, Andrew, but a couple of years ago, we did an IndyCar special event here where I think we did some IndyCars.
Yes.
Around here. I spent a lot of time on that grass, and it was just because I could not get the traction down in that IndyCar out of that corner. Yeah, unusual there. Very uncharacteristic if it was an unforced error. Ross Steele from second goes down to seventh with that.
Still got some laps though to try and work his way back up the order. Kieran Harrison now leads by 3.7 seconds ahead of Michael Preston. There's a further nearly 4 seconds back to this driver here, Steve Hicks. Having stayed behind there in fourth. Sam Sanders, the next driver behind. We're having a look here at William Doyle in the, yes, that is a SpongeBob liveried Audi R8. I don't know what the affinity to SpongeBob is, but you can clearly spot it out there on circuit, as I suppose. Cameron Watson just ahead, who's... this is one of the things I like about this format. Cameron had a difficult start to the event, but with some persistence and clean racing, he's worked his way up into a really nice position here as Cameron.
Yep, absolutely. Just see a little bit of swapping on my timing there, between Josh Mitchell and Jack Eyre. Here it is, just ahead of that pack we were looking at. Nice and close between these two BMW M4 GT3 drivers. And one would fancy Jack Eyre having a look into the Spitzkehrer hairpin. He holds station for now.
Yeah, good stuff from Josh Mitchell and Jack Eyre, sorry. Two debutants to the series in their first season. Both have raced well so far. Okayama, Daytona and Fuji, the circuits that we've visited so far this year. Can still get involved in the championship in 2023. Entries are still open. Should say though, if you're umming and ahhing about it, round 4 is definitely the point at which you want to get on it from here on in, because effectively it means if you've not done rounds 1, 2 and 3, you've used up your drop scores. So if you want to be in with a chance of competing for those awards at the end of the year, including the entry to a Club 100 Endurance Championship race of your choosing in 2024 by winning either Class 1 or Class 2, realistically, you've got to be in it from round 4 onwards to be in with a good chance of winning those prizes. On board with Michael Preston. Bit of a lonely spot this for Michael, 4.6 behind Kieran Harrison. But I think this is more like it from Michael. This is a return to form, isn't it?
Yes, indeed, mate. I think it's important that he said, "Oh, that's a little bit deep for my liking into the hairpin." But yeah, it is a much better showing, as you say, compared to last round. Came into this evening 10th in the championship, which frankly I'm struggling to remember a time. I'm sure he'll love me for saying this. I can't remember a time I've seen his name that low down on the board. So we'll really be looking for some good points this evening, and this is exactly what we'd expect, assuming that there was no contact between himself and Ross Steele earlier. This is exactly the kind of performance that we'd expect to see from Michael.
Through the Sachs curve. 3 laps after this one. We will have a short break from the commentary. apologies folks, we will be showing the show reel for another time this season whilst we change over into the second lobby. Reason for that is fairly straightforward. iRacing currently doesn't have the ability to reconvene all of our drivers back into one single grid once they've been separated into a B and A final. Hope you're enjoying the stream. We've got a few of our drivers from the B final watching us at the moment. Getting ready for the super final for the last race of the evening. There will be a mandatory pit stop for that race as well. .25 laps is the schedule for the super final, which will be starting around 9:25 PM. There will be a 10-minute practice session ahead of it. On board at the moment with William Doyle, Cameron Watson ahead, and Matthew Whitefoot doing another good job here, Howard. Holding on to that 12th place very nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Really nice job. And, we've already seen this evening how Cameron Watson could be a bit of a charger up through the field. Remember, he was the Class 1 runner who started from the back of our first race this evening and managed to work his way up into the top 16 in that first race. So no small thing to keep him behind you and absorb the pressure, as Matthew Whitefoot is doing. That mandatory pit stop as well, Andrew, in the super final as well, so that's going to add a new dynamic to this. It's not just a slightly longer sprint. We have got that, and wasn't that an interesting aspect to the racing we had at Fuji in round 2?
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays into it.
The timing in particular, we mentioned earlier that Josh Mitchell did a really good job on, he went for the overcuts, he stayed out longer, held track position, put the good laps in, and went for the pit stop earlier. I think the big difference, of course, this time though is there's less. It's still a partial reverse grid, but there's less that are reversed. It's just the top 10. So at the moment, that would be Josh Mitchell on pole position. And I think if you're Kieran Harrison, Michael Preston, and you're starting on the 5th row of the grid, there'll be less traffic, or less loss in the traffic than last time out at Fuji. Oh, Mitchell, lovely to the inside there alongside Tim Penny, still alongside. They're going to bang wheels a bit there. Tim Penny will have the inside line for the next corner. This may be an opportunity for Jack Eyre to come down the inside, and he does so. Takes 10th place. We're going to be 3 wide as we enter the stadium, perhaps. Oh, that was a brave one from Josh Mitchell. And I wonder, did he need to do that? Because the difference for Josh's situation now is he's just lost, in effect, pole position for the super final, and it would now start 11th.
Yeah, it's a good point. Why is it every time I'm seeing people go side by side through Mercedes curve, Jack Eyre is behind them, ready to take any of the spoils that go his way? So well read by Jack again there.
White flag out for the drivers. Kieran Harrison is on his way to race victory, but this is the scrap to determine who's going to be on pole position for the reverse grid later on. Jack Eyre to the outside of Tim Penny. Tim Penny gives him just enough room to the inside now. Brilliantly done from Jack Eyre. Is it not done yet? No. Here comes Tim Penny back as they go through the parabolica. They're going to be side by side, the BMW and the Mercedes, as they run down towards the Spitz curve. Very, very evenly matched on power. In the middle, Josh Mitchell looking as well there. Is Josh Mitchell going to go through the middle? Indeed, 3 wide. Some of the, well, Tim Penny doesn't hit the apex and Josh Mitchell cuts through. Oh, wonderful racing once again here in the Club 100 at BUKC iRacing Championship. Still side by side between Penny and Eyre, because this is now for 10th place. Josh Mitchell can hold there in 9th. Penny down the inside, but has run wide. He's run wide, and Jack Eyre will sweep round the outside to get the 2 BMWs. That was a battle that pretty much went on for a whole lap of this Hockenheimring circuit. Kieran Harrison is going to come through to finish the race, take the A final win. Very good so far from Kieran Harrison. Maximum points this so far this evening for him. Michael Preston's going to be P2. Third for Steve Hicks. Fourth for Adam State. Fifth for Sam Sanders. Sixth for Ross Deal. Seventh for Tom Dix. Eighth for Tom Edwards. Who's going to be on pole position? It's going to be two from these three on the front row for the super final, and it's going to be Mitchell and Air. 11th for Tim Penny. Wow, what a finish that was.
That was absolutely lovely to watch, wasn't it? Beautiful exchange between them, and fantastic racing room given, Andrew. I know there was one point where you said, oh, there may have been a touching of doors there, but if so, it was a kiss.
A kiss,
that was
yes.
really, really, really good racing between those three drivers. Hats off to all of them. And yeah, that was, you can just feel, I said that first race was the most reserved one. It's just bubbling up nicely. And I think we're going to be in for an absolute treat with this super final. I think it's all going to come to a head there. And if that racing is anything to go by, I think we're in for a lot of fun when we throw all of our drivers back together again for this final race of the round.
Do stick with us here on the DDMM YouTube channel. If you've enjoyed the stream so far, do give that like button a press, and if you're new around here, why not subscribe as well. As I say, we are going to have the super final. Practice starts at 9:15, so we're a few minutes off that though. Keep it locked here on DDMM. We'll be back very, very soon with more action here from the Hockenheim Ring for round 3 of the Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. Can he hold that gap? Isaac Lord has got past Ben Page now. That's for 7th place. Go either into crucial Iredale's corner. Has Davis got the run? He's not going to be able to get the run surely down here into the Stuart Essence, but he's got the run, he's gone for a big move. Switchback by Weaver. Read it beautifully, saw it coming, kept the steering open, let Ben Davis come into the inside, and he still held on to the lead. That was brilliant racing by all three of them here, and I think that's going to be the crucial moment, because Joe Weaver, unlike 24 hours ago, is not going to need to do the overtake on the last lap. Joe Weaver takes the double in Senior Rotax round 2 of Super 1 2022. Line on row 11, Jake Wilkins and Andrew Ravage on row 12, and then we'll have our 2 qualifiers from the B final. Bryn Albin and Dean Everest form up the 26 entries for this, the lightweight sprint A final for round 9 of the 2022 Club 100 Senior Sprint Championship. 12 minutes on the clock. Green light, great start for Mike Coppin. Sweeps across the front. It's a hugely important race, this, for the championship at the start of the run into the end of the season. Coppin versus Brunton. Early advantage, Howard, to Mike Coppin.
Yeah, absolutely. Last tour of the circuit.
White flag is going to be out this time. If they get past the line, it will run to the end. There they go. Oh, it's a big moment for Chris Hansen. He's gone round. Is that going to take anybody else? Yes, it does. Kelly Wright's gone. Hart's gone. Dix has gone. My goodness me, the race is going to keep running though. It's not going to go under caution now. On the last lap, it's 3 of them. Sanders has the lead. He's going to hold the inside. There's not really much help for Brendan at all. He's going to try and get the side draft working here. He's pulling alongside. They're side by side as they come through turn 4. It's going to be a run to the line here for the Simply Catnip 200. It's really close between them. Is Sanders going to hold it? Oh, there's a bit of contact there on the line. It's a photo finish. It's a photo finish. It's Preston. It's Michael
Stages of this race. Ross Witherow is digging deep again. Has got down to a 32.435 now. It's about a tenth of an. Oh, he's gone for it. Big send. My goodness me. Ross Witherow, brave as anything, on the brakes into the final corner, takes the lead of the race. That was a superb, awesome overtake, and now is Ryan McGinnis going to respond back here? He's looking for the inside now. 6 minutes have expired. That came from miles back from Ross Witherow. Kevin Shine is continuing to go round, by the way. Really, he can drive, he's just not got a lot of power in the number 22. And oh my god, round the outside attempting. That is an outrageous manoeuvre. Oh, we saw one lap ago. That was even better from Ryan McGinnis. And over the line to take the racing room left by Whitefoot on the outside there. Good news for David Whitehouse, but he's got away. He just needs to get through Ascari chicane. and Curva Alboreto, and he's got a great result here. Tom Dix just holding in front of Steve Hicks there. Dix and Hicks at the moment on the outside of the top 10. They need to get up 2 positions if you're Steve Hicks to get on the front row for contact. That's going to be a big one. Into the wall goes Dix and Hicks. Through goes Ian Sumner.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to live coverage on Alpha Live of the 6th and final round for Rotax Max Challenge Switzerland 2022. My name's Andrew Mather. Great to be with you here at the historic Kartbahn Vollen circuit on the 1st of October 2022. We're here in northern Switzerland for this season finale, and it's got all the ingredients to be an absolute cracker here today. Here's your circuit, 815 metres in length, 12 turns, technical, in its 60th year as well, 60 years of racing here at Vollen. The circuit established in 1962.
It's Michael Lenz. Michael Lenz, who had a great finish to heat number 2. Something has gone wrong for him there, and he is out of this race. That's a real shame for Michael Lenz. The driver he overtook for the lead on the last lap of heat number 2 goes by him. Samuel Ifrid, what a season it has been. He's going to finish it in the best way. The junior champion for the last 2 years. Was at Grand Final in 2021. He's going to be there again in 2022 as the senior Rotax Max champion. Samuel Ifrid takes the win here at Vollen. Kurt Wenger is going to take the win in Master Max.
Final lap of the 2022 Mini Rock Super Final here at Lonato. Cantan's down the inside, going for the move into turn 4, takes the lead. Has he overshot? It's going to be side by side between the 2 AV Racing drivers as they approach turn 5. Will be advantage Cantan on the inside, holds onto the lead, but Cosma Christopher is charging along, has closed the gap. This is not over yet. Kalea still there in second place. They're heading towards the last few hairpins now. Cantan defends to the inside. Kalea still there in second. Cosma Christopher can smell that remarkable victory. Cantan's still got the lead of this race. He's got to defend down the inside into the last corner. Get the drive off the final corner. Who's going to be Mini Rock champion for 2022? It's going to be Vivek Cantan. And the title stays in North America for another year. Vivek Cantan wins the lead of the race. Cook is still there in second. Carter's still there in third. They slightly banged wheels. Carter around the outside takes second place. One more opportunity. You've got to think James Roots is still in there as well for the race win. Grayson Wortley, he's got to defend down the inside into Wilkins. He's done just that. He's got to get off the corner. Oh, they're going to be 3 wide. Coming off the corner. Ronnie Carter's gone round the outside. Ronnie Carter becomes champion in the 2022 Super One Miami Bambino Championship with a last corner overtake. Have you ever seen a championship decided like that? What a race win. It's not going to be his first one of the year. Joe Holmes knows the situation. Richard Allen is going to win at Brookmore Park, but for the first time since 2015, Anwar Barul Smith wins a... Well, welcome back everybody to live coverage of the 2023 Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. Getting ready for the super final here tonight at the Nürburgring. And this is going to be a 40-minute race, 25 laps here at, as I say, the Hockenheimring. Andrew Mather and Howard Mitchell on commentary duties for you. And we've had some good fun so far tonight, Howard, with the heat race, the B and the A finals, but this is a big one. The first time we've run this format in a way, with the super final to finish off the night, with everybody now back in and the gloves off. There's no kind of, oh, we've got to get in the top 16, we've got to qualify through to that next race. It's all out now. 100 points within the round on the line for this super final. You've got to leave it all on the table across the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly have been treated to some fantastic racing already, Andrew. And as you say, this is an out and out. I don't know how I feel about this. There's a little bit of apprehension from me because it's kind of like race 3 at a touring car round, but It's also the long race with the pit stop. So hopefully drivers will be playing the long game. And we have seen some really good racing room given and good respect between the drivers this evening, as the drivers are testing out the limits. The news coming into this one, Andrew, I think is twofold. The track has gone back to green conditions because it's a new server.
Yes.
And at the same time, the ambient temperature, or is it the track temperature, excuse me, is 9 degrees hotter than what we had in the racing we've seen thus far this evening.
And,
so
and what's going to be big with that is tyres, because we saw this at Fuji where we had some torturous conditions on the tyres, and we waxed lyrical about how the tyre model in iRacing on GT3s has changed a lot, and not in the way that your people who are aggressive with the tyres would like. It's very much towards your Sergio Perez's of the world of, if you're nice to your tyres, especially the fronts, you're going to benefit here. And I think that's going to need to be a skill that you need in this next race to do well and maybe finish in the top 10.
Absolutely. Just a reminder of how this grid is going to be formed up then. We had the B final, the A final. Everyone's going to be in that order. The A finalers ahead of the B finalers, with the exception of the top 10 who have been reversed. We saw, didn't we, that fantastic battle towards the end of the A final there for who would get that pole position. And I think, funnily enough, we can flash up the grid for everybody right now.
Yes, we can. So, Jack Eyre has pole position for this one. Josh Mitchell alongside on the front row. Tom Edwards and Tom Dix on row 2. Ross Steele and Sam Sanders on row 3. Adam State and Steve Hicks on row 4. Michael Preston and Kieran Harrison on row 5. So that's the portion of the grid that has been reversed. Here on in, it's where drivers finished their previous races. Tim Penny and Cameron Watson on the 6th row of the grid. Matthew Whitefoot and William Doyle on row number 7. Charlie Summers and Luke Tomlinson on row 8. Matt Hale and Andrew Dawson on row 9. Chris Hansen and Craig Brown on row number 10. That's where drivers who qualified for the A final stop, and we continue with those who were in the B final. Dan Gamblin and Sam Dimolo on row 11, Tom Kempink and Christopher Powell on row number 12. And then we find David Whitehouse and James Fremont on row 13. Matt Salmon and Ian Sumner on row 14. Simon Delamere and Murray Adams on row 15. Richard Sanders joins in. We did know about this. He wasn't going to be able to take part in the early races, but he has still registered for the event. He's effectively a did not start for the early part of this evening, but he does get the opportunity here to join the grid for the last race of the evening. So
25 laps now. Sorry, Andrew. 25 laps, mandatory pit stop. And as Andrew said earlier, an out-and-out race for points.
Getting ready to go then into the unknown as to how one of these super finals is going to race. Eyes on the lights and away we go. Green flag in the air for 25 laps here at the Hockenheimring. Very good start at the front of the grid for Jack Eyre, and has already got a 0.8 of a second lead over Tom Edwards and Josh Mitchell down into the first hairpin. Ross Deal cutting to the inside there in the white Audi. Side by side between Cameron Watson and Tim Penny over 11th place there. It's all round goes Cameron Watson on the first lap into the wall. He's just by himself. It won't be a safety car, but that is Watson well and truly out of this race.
Yeah, and it's surprisingly similar to what we saw happen for Charlie Summers right at the start of the evening. And I think there's a little bit of a squash nose on that BMW as well as, oh, we've got drama at the hairpin.
Yeah, more drivers piling in. Craig Brown's in the middle of it all.
We've still got drivers who are caught up with each other. That's Ian Sumner and
Richard Sanders.
Yeah.
Richard Sanders looks to be abandoned at the switch curve there.
Yeah. I've got to say, Andrew, there is there's no FCY available here in this race.
Yep.
So that will be left to stand there. So a few drivers licking their wounds here, I think, at the end of lap number 1.
Indeed. So different from last time. The pits are now open at the end of this lap. There's a rule clarified for this race. Not that any of the drivers. So drivers coming in now, that they will be able to serve their green flag pit stops now, not at the end of lap 3 as it was in the rules for Fuji. So these will count. But the disadvantage now, Howard, is we were talking about tyres. If those drivers wanted to change their tyres, say after 16 laps or 8 laps and split this race up, they've now really got to do 24 laps straight on a set of tyres. Meanwhile, down the inside, Ross Deal, he's cut through the order very, very well, using those BUKCs. And round there, Kieran Harrison and Adam State involved in an incident.
Championship leader coming into this evening, Andrew, and he's going to hurtle down the order there.
Yeah, not good news at all for Adam State. He's got going again. I don't think there's too much damage to the front of his Ferrari, but that is going to cost him so much time and potentially quite a few championship points. But it was Kieran Harrison who's been the fastest driver so far tonight.
I'd back myself now, Andrew. I'd box and then try and get an undercut.
Yeah.
If I was Adam.
He's tucked under behind the Murray Adams DDMM machine, which, yes, that is wide. There is Sam Dimolo coming back onto the circuit in front of David Whitehouse. Well, we said this one would be dramatic, folks, and so far it has very much delivered. To Kirith, who's tuned in. Why aren't you racing tonight, mate? Why aren't you in this? We want you back. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Jack Eyre and Ross Deal, and before that incident between Harrison and State, BUKC and racing through traffic skills. Very much been a thing for Ross Deal this year, racing for Reading A. Very much putting them to display right now. He's alongside Jack Eyre. He'll have the inside line for the Spitz curve to take the lead of the race. Ross Deal always overshot there a little bit, and back comes Jack Eyre on the undercut. Tom Edwards may get involved as well.
Yeah, tasty battle this. I have to say, Andrew, you do make good reference to Ross's ability driving up the field, but let's not forget, the reason why he and indeed Jack Eyre are in this position are because of the reverse grid.
Yeah.
And that incident that we saw for Ross when he was, funnily enough, running in second place in the A final earlier, is why he started higher up on this grid by dropping back a little bit through the top 10.
Kirith's in Poland. That's a valid excuse, mate. I'll give you that one. But good to hear that you've been on your travels. It's effectively gone full-time on YouTube, has Kirith. Ross Deal down the inside to take the lead of the race into the Sun curve. You do not see many overtakes through that portion of the circuit, but my oh my, that was a big one from Ross Deal. Twitch on the rear axle for Jack Eyre. He just kicked up a bit of dirt as they came out of the final corner. Tom Edwards looking for the move now. Josh Mitchell behind as well. Sam Sanders, the fifth of these runners at the front of the field. Michael Preston is up to 6th. Oh, this has been a frenetic start. We're only on lap number 4, on board with Michael Preston now, the Williams Esports driver, 4th gear. 190 kilometres an hour, growing as they head through the Parabolica up to 5th gear. Won't be a move on here, but he'll look to hit his marks on the brakes in the Audi R8. One of a few drivers who's decided to use their joker tonight. Make that change ahead of the public season change. It's a risk, but is it one that's going to pay off across the course of the 4 GT3 events that we've got this season for the CLUB100 BUKC iRacing Championship?
And again, Andrew, does somebody in this pack decide to pit early? Does somebody back themselves to be able to run? It's a tough one because they're all slipstreaming each other, of course, down that Parabolica straight, in inverted commas. But it's an interesting one. If they're going to start battling, then they will lose time, and it would be better to pit. So it's a very interesting call to make here for these top runners.
Yes, indeed. No one's made the call yet. I do wonder, is a part of that these different track conditions, because everything that they've learnt, the nuances of the conditions from the first lobby have completely gone out the window because it is a lot hotter here in lobby number 2. The idea behind that, again, is to try and keep it even and not have drivers practicing during the week in a very specific set of conditions, getting used to it, whereas other drivers for other reasons cannot. Kieran Harrison looking for a move down the inside of Tim Penny for 10th place, as in comes Michael Preston.
Michael Preston, Cameron Watson as well coming in, but that is Michael backing himself.
Yeah,
he thinks he can pull out the decent pace here, Andrew,
well,
and get the undercut.
I could kind of understand it from Michael's position. He wasn't in the train anyway.
Yes.
May as well come in, put some hot laps in, and get that undercut. But the problem is he's come out behind some slower traffic, so that plan may be scuppered already.
He may be able to deal with them quite quickly, Andrew. He's in a prime overtaking spot of the circuit. It's going to have to be for a long way back, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But one would expect him to be able to dispense, no disrespect intended to Ian or Simon, but we know that Michael's a rapid driver.
But no blue flags. He's got to get past of his own volition. He's going to cut to the inside as they approach the Mercedes corner.
Crucial to make those kind of moves.
But how much time is he losing here by not being in clean air? Side by side between William Doyle, Tom Kemping and Murray Adams there as well in the DDMM BMW. This is over 15th place. Oh, who was that off?
Matt Hale.
It's Matt Hale. Matt Hale off and is towed to pit lane. Touch there between the Audi and the BMW.
Yeah, Murray Adams and Christopher Powell were making contact.
And again, Powell did not know that Sam Dimolo was there. And Dimolo off into the wall. Big incident. Big incident for Sam Dimolo. It's gone in a straight line again, but that is surely a lot of damage on his BMW, a lot of damage to the front right. It looks to be from that angle. But that all stemmed from a bit of a mistake from Christopher Powell checking across. I just don't think he was. I think he just either misread the spotter call or something. Clearly not aware that Dimolo was to his left. Contact into turn 1. Side by side now between Steve Higgs and Sam Sanders. Sam Sanders just slots back in. That was over 5th spot. What we've got going on here? Well, this is side by side between David Whitehouse and Christopher Powell. Racing everywhere you look. Overtakes aplenty. What a start to this super final, the first super final in the history of the championship. Kieran says, how has Sam survived that? Because he's got the power of the Teletubbies on his side.
He has.
And it's a BMW. And as we've discussed already tonight, the BMW is a tank.
It is. Although that moment will have felt a little bit Poe.
Oh, Sam Sanders is in. Sam Sanders is in. Now, this will be interesting. Where does Sam Sanders come out in relation to Michael Preston? That's what I want to know at this moment. Michael has got clean air. He's about 5 seconds behind the next car, which is Matt Salmon, debuting this tonight. And I'm not seeing that car go up on the jacks there, Howard. Sam Sanders going all the way on this set of tyres.
But he's been taken. He's been passed by Michael Preston. There he is emerging from the pit lane. So Michael Preston has got the jump. So quite how many cars has he managed to jump? This is going to be really interesting.
The other point as well is, whilst Preston is in clean air at the moment, how quickly does he catch up to Matt Salmon and Christopher Powell ahead? And does that take us into another phase of this race where his progress is hampered and it's those running at the front in clean air who have the advantage?
It's going to be very interesting to see how that one pans out.
But surely if you're Michael Preston, you've got to be praying to the racing gods that those drivers ahead of you start pitting before you catch them up. There's Ross Deal leading the race. 3 seconds clear of Jack Air now. Surely you've got to go long. Surely you've got to go long if you're Ross now.
Oh, moving to the stadium there for Charlie Summers. We've been seeing so many good moves from him there. And puts a pass there in on Ian Sumner.
Yeah, very good stuff from Charlie Summers.
It's slightly old news now, I have to say. I was very glad when we picked up that mid-pack battle, which really started to kick off. I'm very happy that Tom Kemping and William Dorr found each other battling on the same piece of racetrack, because I feel like every mid-pack battle that we have gone to, it's been one of those two battling away.
Yes.
It seems right that they found each other eventually this evening.
There's been a change for 4th place. Yes, there has. It's the yellow Mercedes there of Steve Higgs has got ahead of Josh Mitchell. Further down this order, Howard, Matthew Whitefoot doing a grand job again. He's 8th place on the road at the moment, beating out 2 Class 1s, including a former C2 champion. I know it's still early in the season, but he is building a C2 campaign here. And of course, the winner of C2, Class 4, those with a bit more experience, but not necessarily the speed, the technical ability, and also the access to some of the kits at the higher end of sim racing. That's very much like the Pro-Am class, as opposed to a novice class. Matthew Whitefoot is starting to put together a very nice set of scores in the early stage of the season, and unlike last season, he's doing it from the start of the season, not kind of, round 4, round 5, as we saw in 2022. Meanwhile, Kieran Harrison in the pits, perfect score from the first portion of the evening, having won the heat,
close.
Having won the A final. Where is he going to be? He's going to be behind. He's going to be behind Michael Preston. Wow, what a moment there. So similar to what we saw at Fuji, Kieran Harrison's got to get some overtakes done. We've seen him have the pace from pole position in races. Meanwhile, front of the order, Ross Steele, I think is that Matt Hale ahead of him.
Yeah, he's having to deal with traffic. So that's another aspect of Matt Hale doing the very laudable thing there of getting out of the way. The gap between your leader now and Michael Preston, Andrew, is 29 seconds, pretty much dead. So the question is, how does that transpire in a pit stop?
And the other thing as well, that Michael Preston has cleared Matt Salmon. Kieran Harrison has yet to do so. So both of them are running in clean air at this moment. Who's that coming into pit lane? It's one of the Audis. So I think also coming in there was Chris Hansen. So yes, Chris Hansen elects to go into pit lane.
I don't know how to tell you this, mate. No Audis have come onto the pit lane. Oh yeah, sorry, there is one. Richard Sanders has been in the pits for a couple of minutes, I think. Oh, and Christopher Powell is coming in.
Yep. As I think is Matt Salmon, so that will be good news. That'll be good news for anyone pitting now, because that would be a car that they would have ended up behind. As Adam State, 20th on the road at the moment. Is he going to come out ahead of Chris Hansen? Oh, he is just about. Chris Hansen got blocked there by Richard Sanders. Richard Sanders back down the inside. Oh, that's going to open it up for Chris Hansen, who's going to go through past Adam State in the all-Ferrari battle. Oh, that'll have been a frustrating moment for Adam State, but he's got to get his head back in the game, because he could have an opportunity here on Chris Hansen, who may have cold tyres. In fact, he will have cold tyres. Will have to take it gingerly in the early stages of this stint. Open the door there, but he's going to get on the... Oh, that was very nicely done by Chris Hansen. Didn't try and fight it too hard on the apex there, Howard. Knew he wouldn't necessarily have the turn in, but has given himself a fighting chance as they go towards the Mercedes curve now, still side by side between the two Ferraris. This time Adam State goes, no, this is my position. I'm taking this one on the road, Chris Hansen. That had to be a bit brave there and a bit forceful for Adam State, but it was crucial for him to hold onto that position. Meanwhile, side by side, this is for second place in the race. Steve Hicks down the inside of Tom Edwards, takes it into turn 2. But Tom Edwards will have the advantage of the slipstream as they go down through the parabolica. This is a frenetic race.
It's amazing, but Andrew, this is Christmas for Michael Preston.
Yes.
Like those who've pitted earlier, this fighting, I think it's going to be costly. It's costly for Hicks and Edwards when they come to pit.
Yeah. Ross Deal is still in clean air, by the way. You can see our driver tracker in the top right-hand corner. The little red number 1 is your race leader, and the good news for him, he's got a lot of track ahead of him with no cars. Next car up ahead is one of the C3s in 27th place.
The gap has held at 29 seconds between the leader and Michael Preston. I will just double check. Yes, very much so. The highest placed person who has pitted. It's going to be interesting. Really, really interesting. We're not even at halfway yet. Can you? I'm not sure our voices can take that, but that is the state of affairs.
Another key lap for Preston coming in, because he's about to catch the rear of the 007. In fact, he has caught the rear of the 007 Belgian Ferrari of Tom Kemping. You can see he's struggling on tyres. Rear traction. We've been talking about it all night, haven't we, mate? You've got to have rear traction round here. Tom Kemping clearly struggling with it there. That's good news for Michael Preston. He's able to get the move done with relatively little loss in terms of speed out there on circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. So crucial lap, as you say, Andrew. Every lap will feel quite crucial to Michael at this point, to be honest, because he's really pushing hard. But he's really got to optimise moments like this, where he has that clear air in front of him.
On board now with Michael Preston, going down towards the Spitz curve, looking for that braking mark. There it is. Look how late he's braking there, almost with the green concrete on driver's left. Next driver up ahead is Murray Adams, who hasn't pitted yet. He's running really well up in 12th spot. Some, 4 or 5 seconds behind. The gap starting to edge out now, 30.2 seconds to the leader Ross Deal, who's going over start-finish now.
Josh Mitchell pits. This is from 4th place, I believe.
Yep.
This is going to be a good benchmark here. Where does surely Michael Preston will jump him? He's already coming around the last corner. This is going to be really, really interesting, Andrew. How we go into this second half of the race, or as we go into the second half of this race. Kieran Harrison in a good position to pick up on this as well, Andrew. He was the second pitter from these top runners, and actually he's reeled in the gap. He's judged the traffic, I think, really quite well.
Well, it's one of the one of the cliched but still very difficult things for Michael's position is he's leading the race of those who stopped early, but it also means that when they're catching traffic, Michael's the one catching them first. And whilst the drivers ahead have not got blue flags, it may just take them a moment to realise, yes, these are drivers who've already pitted. I'm not actually racing with them. I'll get out of their way. But it's often the case where the first driver doesn't get that wave by in a way. Has to work a bit harder, don't they?
They do indeed. Could be a double whammy as well, Andrew. It could be with some of them that Preston goes by and they go, oh, well, if the leaders are coming through, maybe now's a good time to pit, so I don't have to worry about it. They might actually be getting it. They may literally be taking themselves off the circuit for Kieran Harrison behind in some instances.
But surely if you're these two drivers as well, you'll have learnt from last time out a couple of weeks ago, where they did have it's very entertaining for us to watch here in the virtual comms box, but they had a heck of a ding-dong battle, which ultimately cost them the race win with Josh Mitchell going long. Surely, if they do get closer, they're going to keep working together. In a couple more drivers. Jack Ayres in. Dan Gamblin is also in. Away goes Jack Ayres. They're all coming out behind Michael Preston and Kieran Harrison, who have now cycled back up into the top 10. We're on lap 14 of 25. Race leader in traffic again, Howard. You can see on the tracker.
And so too, therefore, the gap has dipped below 30 seconds again between Preston and Ross Deal in the lead. This is crucial. Is
now a good time to pit for Ross Deal, because you've got that traffic. It's a diminishing return now.
I don't know.
If you've got your intel on the circuit, you know that there's a bit of a gap ahead of Michael Preston that you could jump into if you get this stop right. No, he's going to go around again. I think that's fine, because he has got clean air again now.
I say Ian Sumner doing the very courteous thing there of getting out the way through SAS curve for him. So yeah, he's got open air again now as Ross Deal. He might actually, Andrew, want to push here and try and get that gap out to back out beyond 30 seconds again, at least.
1:39.0 for Ross Deal. Let's have a look at what the lap time is for Preston and Harrison when they cycle through in a few moments' time. Whitefoot and Tomlinson and Doyle all mid 1:39s. Murray Adams is the last of those in the train of drivers who are yet to visit the pit lane. 1:38.9 for Michael Preston. So it is nip and tuck. It is about the traffic management at the moment. And arguably it's harder for these two drivers who we're running with at the moment, on board with Kieran Harrison. Michael Preston ahead. The next car is Murray Adams, yet to stop, but this is for race position. There won't be any blue flags.
And this is the other thing, Andrew. If you're Kieran Harrison, it doesn't serve you right now, in my opinion, unless you can do it cleanly. Yeah, you see, there's half in attack and half in defence there from Michael Preston.
That's very gentlemanly from Murray Adams to let them through there. He's side by side now between Preston and Harrison. Yeah, no, surely Harrison's going to have to tuck back in.
But you don't want to lose too much time here. You want to cement and make sure that you two are going to come out. You can have this fight in the dying
last two laps.
Yeah.
In is the leader. In is the leader. So this is the moment. Ross Deal is taken now as the option. Probably wary of drivers up the road who are going to be traffic. Steve Hicks has taken the lead of the race, has gone on, has continued, putting in some great lap times, 1:38.8. But this is the key moment. Where is Ross Deal in the Audi going to emerge relative to Michael Preston. Michael Preston and Kieran Harrison are coming over start-finish now. They're going to be alongside. Surely you can see the white Audi's rear wing moving down pit lane. He's going to beat them. He's going to do it. Ross Deal has made the overcut work and has emerged out ahead of Michael Preston by about 2.5 seconds.
Game on. Game on. And I think that lap where we saw Ross Deal get clear air ahead of him, Andrew.
Yeah.
I think that was a very, very valuable lap for him to be able to push on. He probably still had it just in hand over them. There's probably been the difference between having a 2.5 second gap and having a 2.5 tenth gap.
And now the race is on between Preston and Harrison. They know now, or if you're in Kieran Harrison's car at the moment, that you've got to get past Michael Preston to race up to Ross Deal.
You've squeezed as much juice as you can out of the undercut. Now it's an out-and-out battle to the end.
But again, do you push Michael Preston along? I know it's very tricky to both draft in these cars.
Where will a Steve Hicks and a Tim Penny and a Tom Edwards slot into this? That's the question. I would still keep trying to push as hard as you can. But he's going for it, isn't he?
Yeah, he wants to get through. He's trying to throw Michael Preston off course and put him off. Into the pits comes Steve Hicks, race leader, 4-1 single lap. Penny is in, Edwards is in, Tom Dix is in. They've all cycled through now. They've seen Ross Deal make the pit stop. They know that they've got to make the stop now. Now they will arguably have some fresher tyres on their cars in the latter stages.
If they take tyres, yes.
If they do, I think they are all taking tyres. There goes Steve Hicks.
It.
Yep.
So all of them have been jumped by Preston and Harrison there. So everybody apart from Ross Deal was jumped by that undercut play, particularly from Michael Preston, but also from Kieran Harrison.
Michael Preston dealing with the pressure at the moment, had a great race on Friday for Southampton University in the BUKC. If you missed that, you can watch that back on the Alpha Live YouTube channel with commentary from DDMM. Out of the pit lane comes Murray Adams, side by side for P2. Oh, and the nearly trailing wing mirrors there. Down the inside is Kieran Harrison. Fourth position on the road, takes second place through the Spitz curve. Michael Preston fought it hard and will probably reply even harder if he gets the opportunity. But for Kieran Harrison, he had to make that work. Back down the inside goes Michael Preston. Shows him the dummy. Has he run wide? They're going to be side by side once again as they sweep through, and Kieran Harrison round the outside retakes second place once again. What racing we're being treated to tonight here in the Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. But now the challenge is on for Kieran Harrison. 3.6 seconds is the gap up to Ross Deal. To be honest, he probably doesn't need to catch up to win the round. He won his 2 races. Oh, is he wide? Is he a touch wide on the exit of the Sud curve there? But I think he's in position, Howard, to have round 3 sewn up, at least provisionally. But another statement of authority from the Leeds University driver to take that position on the road away from Michael Preston, who we know from previous seasons is a very, very accomplished driver in his own right. This is Kieran Harrison laying down a marker to the rest of the field of who can challenge him this season.
Oh, look, William Dawes still in the battle. Sorry. I feel, has he had anyone further than half a second from him this evening? It just seems to be battling all the way through. Fair play to him. But, yeah. But, yeah, this has been fantastic. I've got to say, this is why I do love the longer formats with the pit stops personally. I love the strategic play and seeing how it all plays out. And as you say, Andrew, Kieran Harrison has set himself up here to challenge for the win. As you say, we think he might be in a position already. I agree with you. I think he's in a position to take the round already. But you want the win, right? Yeah. You want the victory after playing yourself into it like this. He's pushing hard there.
Preston wide and skirting with the gravel as they came into the stadium. Just going to give a bit of love to C2 as well, right on cue. William Doyle and Luke Tomlinson going side by side. The 103 the Rethink Racing car with the red details, that is your C2 leader in this race. And it's going side by side as they enter into the stadium with William Doyle. Will have the inside line. William Doyle tries to do a switch back into the Sachs curve. Luke Tomlinson shuts the door, says, nope, not having any of that. Want this position, want that buffer to the drivers behind. But Dan Gamlin, who's pushing on as well, squirming around in his 555 BMW. Andrew Dawson not too far behind. 1, 2, 3. The BMW, the Audi in between, not a Class 2 competitor, remember. And then the second BMW and the third BMW, that is your 1, 2, 3 in C2 at the moment in this race.
I'm not entirely sure, Andrew, but I get the impression...
Oh, is that Sam Sanders is off?
Sam
Sanders off the road and losing positions. What has happened there to Sam Sanders in his Audi R8? Is there ever going to be a lap in this race where there is not drama wherever you look tonight?
No. I'll answer that one now. Answer that one now, mate. This is absolutely bonkers, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. What I was going to say is I don't think Luke Tomlinson has consolidating his position as highest running Class 2 driver. I don't think he has that foremost in his mind.
No.
He just wants to race.
And I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it. This is Matthew Whitefoot. I think had some problems in the pit stops because he's fallen down to 18th
in fact,
spot.
Before the stops, Andrew, was he? I think he was leading Class 2.
He was.
It's a case of he's trying to recover this one, I think.
Goodness me. Look at this. This is battle for third place. Steve Hicks.
We haven't had one of those.
No.
We'll tick that one off the bingo card.
And they've got Ian Sumner ahead of them. And it gets out of the way, but both of them have to miss the apex there. I think Michael's struggling on tyres here. I think this is Steve Hicks. Less fuel, but newer tyres. And being able to use those tyres with the lesser fuel, as opposed to Michael Preston's fronts, who have done that bit more work. They're side by side as they approach into the Spitz curve. Preston will have the inside line. Hicks runs a little bit wide. There's not much grip out there. Jack Hare has cycled through quite well, Howard. He's up to 5th place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He has worked his way through well. He started on pole, didn't he, for this one?
Yep.
Do you remember the start of the race a few years ago? It feels like.
Still
because of just how much has happened.
Still five laps of this one to go. And I tell you what, Kieran Harrison, as I say, my mental maths at the moment, he doesn't need to win this race. He's got enough of a lead, especially over Ross Deal, because remember Ross had that problem in the A final to sit in 2nd place and win round 3 of the championship. But no, he wants to take the clean sweep. He's less than a second behind Kieran Harrison now. Steve Hicks has another go, perhaps at Michael Preston's 3rd place. He's looking down the inside into turn 2. No, thinks better of it. Thinks I'll have a run through into the Spitz curve.
He'll be compromised though, Andrew. He won't get as good an exit with that line out of 2.
They just see ahead the lead battle as well. Ross Deal and Kieran Harrison will keep monitoring that one, but Steve Hicks trying to set up the move here. Preston defends to the inside. Hicks is going to have to go the long way round, and again he's not going to see that darker area of the circle on the inside. That's where the rubber is, that's where the grip is. Michael Preston's doing a very good job to defend that line. Meanwhile, back with the race leaders, on board with Kieran Harrison. Wants to take another race victory. Well, we already had earlier this year Kieran Harrison involved in a potential DDMM race of the year. That was in the BUKC at PF International. This is potentially going to be another one. Wide is Ross Deal. I think Ross was in that race as well when I come to think of it. Ross Deal dipping a toe into the gravel there, showing how hard he's pushing in his Audi R8, but the ominous sight of the yellow and purple and black Asher Racing.
There's traffic.
Number 93 of Kieran Harrison. There is traffic. 3 laps to go. Sorry, 4 laps to go, including this one.
By the way, shout out in all of this to this train that's going on behind them as well from 5th place down. You can see that one on the circuit tracker as well. It's not done yet, Andrew. It is not done yet. I know it sounds incredible given how bonkers this round has been. I don't think we've actually seen much in the way of lead battles.
No.
So this is going to be interesting as well. Yes, well, Ross Deal might be on the headlights to those ahead of him because this one matters.
I think it's Richard Sanders who's the back marker ahead, who will want to be in any place other than where he is right now. Side by side again between Preston and Hicks. Preston defending to the inside line. Hicks trying to do a switchback. Preston just delays getting on the throttle. Doesn't allow the gap to open up. Side by side here. This is Charlie Summers in the black and white BMW trying to find a way past Tom Edwards with the back marker of Ian Sumner in the middle of all of that.
Moment for Ross Dillon, and that's going to open up the opportunity there for Kieran Harrison. Side by side into the stadium, and he's got him.
And the moment that Kieran Harrison has been waiting for. He's had to work really, really hard so far in this race, but a mistake there from Ross Deal gives Kieran Harrison the lead. But the roles are now reversed. Kieran Harrison has to lead it out. Ross Deal will have the slipstream. But does he still have the pace in that number 79 to live with what Kieran Harrison is showing here today? Remember, when Kieran Harrison got past Michael Preston, it was 3.6 seconds to eat into in terms of Ross Deal's lead, and he did just that. Meanwhile, Preston and Hicks, who have not actually lost that much time, Howard. They're only 4 seconds behind Kieran Harrison.
Yep, absolutely.
I just wonder, do they change tactics a bit if Ross Deal is struggling? I think, well, the answer is going to be no, because they're going to go side by side once again, down into the hairpin. I love what Preston's doing here. He's driving in such a heads-up manner.
Who needs replays when they do exactly the same formation every lap through that hairpin? It's amazing. As I was saying, there's battles throughout the field that we've not been able to give full showing to. This is David Whitehouse versus Christopher Powell.
Yeah, and Whitehouse will have a run there in the Seesaw BMW. I think we'll push through into 21st place, or maybe not, because Christopher Powell's going to come back. Powell will hold to the inside.
This is a good little battle as well, Andrew. Murray Adams has just got by Cameron Watson and Sam Sanders. Genuinely, there is very little spread in this field. You can see on that driver track, pretty much everybody has somebody to race with.
Is that a little bit of damage on the front right of Sam Sanders' Audi? Probably
and you know,
quite catch what caused his spin earlier in the race.
Has to be said as well, Andrew, Kieran Harrison has got the jump. He's pulled out the gap. Here it is. Doing exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, no, he's doing a great job. If you're enjoying the stream, well, if you're not enjoying the stream, I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is the channel for you.
Are you not entertained? Yes.
But thanks to the likes tonight, guys, we have hit the 10 like target. It's side by side once again. Hicks has his nose more ahead. He's going to try a more extreme cutback here. It's not going to work. It's just no grip, Howard, on the outside of that rubbered in racing line. Oh, it's a touch there between Dix and Edwards. May open things up for Charlie Summers.
It has opened things for Charlie Summers. He's by on Tom Dix, and he fancies his chances as well on Tom Edwards into Mercedes corner. But can't quite make it work, and there's contact.
Thanks to Just Racing. So I think that actually might be one of Chris Simpson's channels for subscribing today. Through goes Adam States.
Costly moment for Tom Edwards and Charlie Summers.
Yeah. They lose out big time there. It's not good news for them at all.
Oh, moment there, not, yeah, Josh Mitchell's got to be careful
Checkered
here,
flag's
Andrew,
out. Checkered flag is
Is
out.
it?
Kieran Harrison has come over the line to take the round win. Ross Deal takes second place. Michael Preston third, fourth for Steve Hicks. Time expired there. Jack Hare in fifth, sixth for Josh Mitchell. All of these results will be combined with earlier on. Remember to work out the final
Tom Edwards
standings
is
Yes,
Tom
Tom
Edwards
Edwards.
pitting.
I don't think he'd pitted. Is that a little bit like what we saw the other day? It's either he had never pitted, or he's has to do a drive-through for instant points.
Yeah.
Well, he's not coming to the box, so I think it's the latter. Sorry, folks. That's we're enjoying that one so much that the checkered flag crept up on us.
Sorry. Yes, indeed. I mean, thankfully, we've chosen not to put out the Club 100 iRacing media pen at pit entry
Yes.
there. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, that one took us by surprise. But yeah, brilliant with Kieran Harrison. Perhaps you'll forgive us, though, folks, for that, because I couldn't take my eyes off that one. What a race.
Hello to Karen. Thank you for tuning in, Karen. Enjoying the stream. Mike Hart as well. Good racing. Gutted I couldn't join you all tonight. We missed you, Mike. That race, if it was 99% what we wanted, it just needed the 1% of yourself, mate. But I know you'll be back for future rounds. Christopher Powell always likes to drive the car back to the pits, as it is in real life. Yeah, let's have a look at the result then from that, frankly, bonkers super final. Kieran Harrison, your race winner, ahead of Ross Deal. And I know he lost the round victory last time because of post-race penalties. I don't think, I've not seen anything that would lead me to suggest that that's going to happen again tonight. That is a very, very well-deserved round victory for Kieran Harrison. Ross Deal showing he's definitely a factor in. Thank you, Chris, for that one. Testing out the physics once again here on iRacing. We do that. That's a service we provide for free here in the Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. I said he likes to bring it back to the pits. He doesn't. He's actually missed the pits. He's not going to get it back to the pit stall there. Race result. SDK's got so excited it can't display the race
it can't
results.
show us the results, yeah.
Just because I know that sometimes things don't like to be drawn on at my end, Howard. What's the race result looking like at yours?
As exactly the same as it is for you, mate. I can't read that one.
Kieran Harrison then, your race winner from Ross Deal. Michael Preston third, Steve Hicks fourth, Jack Hare fifth, Josh Mitchell sixth, Tim Penny, Tom Dix, Adam State and Charlie Summers. That was your top 10. Tom Edwards, Luke Tomlinson, William Doyle, Chris Hansen and Dan Gamblin all finished in the top 15. So Luke Tomlinson, your winner in C2 ahead of Dan Gamblin. Andrew Dawson in 16th was third in that race in C2. 17th for Matthew Whitefoot. 18th for Murray Adams. 19th Cameron Watson. Not a good race at all for Sam Sanders down in 20th place. 21st for Christopher Powell. 22nd for David Whitehouse. 23rd for Tom Kemping. James Fremont and Matt Salmon on his Club 100 and BUKC iRacing debut finished there in 25th place. There we go. So, yes, the order pretty much as we mentioned there. All good.
That's serendipitous.
Yeah. Let's go to page 2. Page 2 of the replays. There it is. So we got up to Matt Salmon. Matt Hale, 26th. Ian Sumner, 27th. Alan Curtis, Simon Delamere all off the lead lap. Richard Sanders hopped in at the end there, picks up some points for attendance. Craig Brown was a retirement. And we'll stay on the air just for a little bit, Howard, to see if we have a result. And boy, oh boy, he's good, is Mr. Hicks. He's already got one for us. So let's go through the order on that one. Let's give the whole thing. So 34 drivers competed tonight. Murray Scott 34th, Michael Lithgow 33rd, Chris Kirk 32nd, Simon Delamere 31st. Ian Sumner inside the top 30 tonight with 178.5, Alan Curtis ahead on 183, James Fremont on 185.5. Matt Salmon, good debut there, 27th place overall in the points. 26th for David Whitehouse, 25th for Craig Brown, Sam Dimolo, Murray Adams, Tom Kemping, Christopher Powell all end up outside the top 20. That's a bit of a hit to Murray Adams in his C2 prospects. So they've had a good start from round 1 2. He'll be dropping down the scores tonight. Into the top 20, Matt Hale there in 20th place. Dan Gamblin just off the podium in C2. Third place in C2 for tonight's round goes to Andrew Dawson, virtue of 18th place overall. Chris Hansen was 17th. Just ahead of him was Charlie Summers. Cameron Watson next up on 212 points, wins out in a tiebreaker there in 15th place. Matthew Whitefoot was next up and second in class on 214 points. He loses out in that C2 battle by half a point though. Luke Tomlinson, 13th place overall, 214.5 points. Well done to Luke Tomlinson, our winner in C2 tonight. Here on in are all C1 runners. Tom Edwards on 216, Will Doyle on 218.5, Sam Sanders 10th place there on 222.5. Really costly though in that last race with that spin that took him down to 20th in the super final. 9th for Tim Penny, more good points for the Nomad Racing driver there. And support from Down to Race, thank you for the comments, guys. 8th place for Jack Eyre, 228.5. 7th was Tom Dix. 6th was Josh Mitchell. 5th for Adam State. 4th for Ross Deal. Beaten off the C1 podium by half a point by Steve Hicks. But it's Michael Preston back in form in second place. But no one tonight could touch the form of Leeds University's Kieran Harrison. I'm pretty sure on this one that we won't lose this one due to penalties. Kieran Harrison from Leeds University takes round 3 of this year's Club 100 and BUKC iRacing Championship. Howard, how are we feeling after
sorry,
that one?
I'm somewhat speechless. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? We said one of the first things I said in the stream was that this track was well known, these cars would be well known, and the racing would be competitive and close. And didn't it deliver? I mean, what an evening we have had. Well done to our fast winners there, to Luke Tomlinson and to Kieran Harrison. But wow, did they have to fight for that this evening? Really impressive stuff. I'm always hesitant to say these kind of things, Andrew, because this series delivers such good racing all the time, frankly. But for me, that was race of the season so far. We just had.
No, as I say, I think that last race goes in the category for DDMM Race of the Year, whether in real life or in sim. But that brings us to an end here tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching your DDMM live stream. We will be back next for round number 4 at the end of the month, 31st of May. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to wait for the next one. Do sign up, do get involved. All details down in the description below if you do want to get involved. But thank you for tuning in. My name's been Andrew Mather, he's been Howard Mitchell. This has been the DDMM YouTube channel for round 3 of the 2023 Club 100 BUKC iRacing Championship. Do subscribe, like button, and all of that YouTube business. Thank you very much for joining us here. Goodbye.